Salutations again, pod lovers, and welcome to another See You Next Thursday podcast, or as it will be known this week as the Bobby Firmino podcast, because give the ball to Bobby, he will score. You know that little ditty was for you, Billy?
Yeah, thanks very much.
It only took him 45 attempts as well.
This week we have Billy, Tristan, and yours truly for your listening displeasure. How's it going, you bunch of studs? And I mean that ironically, of course, before you get the ideas of grandiose, Tristan.
It's a bit like the three Amigos, this. Do you remember that? Billy must be Steve Martin with the grey hair. Old guy, you know, not very funny. You'll be the stupid little one with the big nose, whatever he was called. And I don't know who the other one was, so that'll be me, because it's the one nobody knows.
The anonymous one.
The one who everyone forgets. That's me.
Got you down to a T.
Yeah.
Right, let's crack on. Lots to talk about this week, as usual. All right, so match day 9 kicked off with, pardon the pun, Newcastle 0, Chelsea 2.
God, they're awful, aren't they, Newcastle, at the moment?
Yeah, really poor.
What has Steve Bruce got to do to get the sack?
Well, for starters, it'd help if he wouldn't get his tongue so far up Mike Ashley's backside. That would probably help.
But everybody's done that apart from Rafa, so that's a given. That's part of the contract when you go there. So, I mean, what are they doing? They're just waiting for somebody to take them over before they actually.
Do you know what I think it is? It's Ashley really hates I really think he does hate the Newcastle fans, because when the fans hated Pardew, he gave him an 8-year contract. The fans loved shooting, so he sacked him and got brought in Pardew. You know what I mean? Rafa, the fans loved him, so he got rid of him, brought in Steve Bruce. The fans hate him, so he's given him loads of money to spend, and kept him even when they're playing crap. I mean, it must be. I just think he's doing that to stick the middle finger up to the Newcastle fans.
And he can afford to do it as well.
Well, exactly. He's a billionaire, isn't he?
But they look awful, don't they? Getting back to the match, they look awful side, don't they? They haven't got nothing that you could say, oh, well, the defence is good, the midfield's okay, or the forwards are firing. They've got nothing.
Well,
nothing
I was looking back earlier, this is doing research on an article, and just it was just looking back at, and quite a few times there was footage of team, the team I was watching, and quite a few times they were playing against teams managed by Steve Bruce in the Premier League. Every single one of them played exactly the same way that Newcastle are playing now. Dreadful. Really tediously, really bad football. I'm just thinking, he's really out of his depth in the Premier League. That's what it is.
But you wonder why he's still getting a job, don't you? Because they're not going forward, are they? They're not progressing like most clubs have, like the Southamptons, and they're not progressing as a club. They've got seem very stale to me. I don't know whether that's just me.
That's a very good point. That's exactly what they are, Billy. They're stale. They're just treading water really badly at the moment, and it's just sad to see. You're right. It's so sad to see, because they've got the infrastructure for greatness. They've got a massive fan base. They've got a lot of passion. Historically, they play attractive football. May not be winning football, but they attacking football. They just need somebody to go in there, spend some money, and just put them in Europe, and then, top 4, and then go from there.
Well, I think Trish hit the nail on the head. I think the problem is Ashley and his running of the club. I can't see them progressing under Ashley. I think he's just happy to tread water. I think he's just happy to get his advertising.
Yeah,
but he's getting all up for free. And I don't think he's that bothered about the football side of it, which is a shame, absolute shame.
I don't know. I mean, going back to the game, they missed Wilson, which was a big blow for them.
He's still welcome.
Yeah, you're right, mate. You're right. But Chelsea are just there and thereabouts, doing their thing, winning 2 or 3 games, losing a game, drawing a game, and but they're just there, So they're a threat. They really are a threat.
They're playing much better defensively, and that's the big difference. Because that was their weakness before. Now they're starting to defend better. Since Thiago Silva got on the side, they look much better. Even when he's out, even when he's missing, they still look better organised than that.
Yeah.
Having his experience around's a real help.
Yeah. Now, guys, let me ask you a question about Lampard. Is he punching above weight, or is he actually a decent manager?
I certainly can't see him. I can't see how he's punching above weight. When you consider the price of their squad and how many thousands of players they've got around the world that they've got to pick from, they should be up there. The only reason they weren't is because they had Lampard as a rookie manager at a time when they had a transfer ban last season. So it was a bedding in process. So this season he's just doing what he should be doing, which isn't a bad thing because he's a new manager, but just saying, the team he's got, the squad he's got, they should be up there challenging.
But I think I could manage Chelsea with that squad they've got. I don't think anyone could. I would. I would. Because I don't think he's got the know-how to get a title challenge together. I don't think he's that good a manager, personally. He's a good young man coming up. Yeah, I have, yeah.
What's your opinion on?
Yeah, I have, yeah. I think he's a bit wishy-washy to me, Frank. I like him as a person, but as a manager, I don't think he's got the ruthless streak. I think he goes along with what's happening. He's a very off-the-cuff manager. I don't think he's got the technical know-how to change things when things are going wrong. But that's just an opinion.
That'll come with experience, though. When he gets as anybody there?
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I mean, it's hard to tell, isn't it, whether he's going to. He should get better, and he should learn from experience. So Billy may be right, but I don't know. I don't know if he is that wishy-washy. I just think he's been lucky that he's got handed such a great squad so early on.
From what I can gather, some of the players have said that he gives them. They've never seen a temper like it on him. When he comes in and at half time, at full time, he gives them a rocket. So I think that. I mean, I think the jury's out because he's had one season where he's had a transfer ban. This is his season with players. So I think we need to give him some time. I mean, he's doing well. He's really doing well. I mean, and then again, they're not going to sack him anytime soon. So he'll have time to develop and nurture and cultivate a team.
Yeah, I think as well.
But you only find out how good a manager actually is when they have adversity. It's like Pep. We're only finding out how good he actually is as a coach now. Because this is the first time he's actually had a fight on his hands.
So we're going to go on to Pep in a bit, mate. But,
I was just using him as an example. I was just saying, Frank, we won't find out until he goes through a bad patch whether he can sort it out. That's when we'll know whether he's got the right stuff.
I'm trying to be strict like Billy today, so. What was I going to say? So, hey, listen, we're going to do a thing today about a new thing today about what players teams can't afford to lose. One player that teams in the Premiership can't afford to lose. So, one player from Newcastle, guys, and one player from Chelsea.
Well, it certainly won't be Almiron, will it, from Newcastle?
No.
Or his amateur agent.
What was that about? He said something about he'd be off in January if it wasn't.
His agent said he had interest in him and he would have gone in the summer if it hadn't been for the COVID crisis, the pandemic, he would have been off in the summer to Inter Milan or somewhere. And I just thought, if they've watched him play, there's not a hope in hell any of them will want to sign him. And sorry, he's just not that good yet. He just hasn't shown enough to be good enough for a team like that.
No.
Works bloody hard though. He does put the effort in.
But his end product's absolutely abysmal most of the time.
Oh, I'm not disputing that, but it's not through the want of trying. He's just probably not a good player.
He's a bit of a headless chicken, isn't he?
Yeah.
He needs a stronger coach, someone to actually give him better instructions. He's just given no real instructions under Bruce. He was starting to come good before, but I just
but Sofa would be better than Steve Bruce. So
it's got to be Wilson from Newcastle, hasn't it?
Okay.
Because
I'd say Lascelles for me. I think he keeps that back four together.
He's awful.
I like him. I think he's okay.
So many mistakes, and he's
but I think he gives them.
He's a dreadful defender.
Yeah, but Billy, I agree with you in a sense that he gives them a psychological boost.
He's better than every other defender they've got, and he keeps that back four going for me.
They're better off with. I'd say no, I just don't see it that any of their defenders could do without any of them because they're all waste of time.
I'd say my pick would be Darlow. You take Darlow out of that team,
no, because they've got that other one. Remember the one who's out injured at the moment.
Yeah, they haven't got him though. If he's injured.
But I'm saying because we're saying which player can they not afford? One player out of their entire squad they can't afford to lose. Well, if they had a fully fit squad, I was thinking would be the thing.
Oh, you meant a fully? I thought you meant.
Yeah, no. If they had their full squad, they couldn't afford to lose one player, they'd have the other keeper, and he's not that far off fitness anyway. So if Darlow goes out injured, he'll be back soon anyway. So
was he he's a Czech keeper, isn't he?
I can't think of his name, and I know it should.
He's a very good player.
I'll have to look at it. Yeah, but he's.
What about Chelsea? Who they can't afford to lose?
Silva at the moment.
Thiago Silva, definitely.
Yeah, Thiago Silva.
I was saying that on their site.
Yeah.
He's made a big difference to them.
He's transformed them, and he's the key. Dubravka, that's his name, the keeper.
Dubravka, that's it. Yeah. How would you say Werner is settling in, lads? How's his assimilation?
I don't think he has yet. I think he's going to come good. He's only making little cameo appearances at the moment. He's good. He's good for 10 minutes.
Didn't you watch? I watched him earlier. He looked absolutely shattered, did Werner. And I thought, when he played, he had tired touches, everything about him. He just looked like he needed a break.
Didn't he miss a ridiculously easy chance? It was like
his touch was like it was just the touch of a man who, when your legs are going and you're going all jelly-like. And you try to kick the ball and you just make a complete hash of it. That was what he looked like to me.
He's just not settled in for me yet. I think he'll come good. I think he's a quality player. But he just hasn't settled down yet. And I don't know, personal life, when you come over and he's trying to get set up in life in a different country, it's hard. And I think he will come good, but I think he's taking a bit of time to settle in.
Okay, mate. On that note, let's get on to Villa 1, Brighton 2. Anybody watch that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I watched it.
Am I the only one that didn't see a problem with with the decision for the Villa fans were up in arms about the decision at the end?
Right. Yeah, I don't know why.
I didn't think it was I thought the decision was right. I'm not sure if I'm missing something.
No, I didn't. I thought it was right as well.
I didn't see the game.
Oh, right. Oh.
They were there. Be honest with you, Brighton done a number on them, actually. Villa had loads of the ball and they played okay. But Grealish looked tired to me.
Yeah, really I thought tired. So as well. He's been benefiting because of the lower intensity in the games has given him a lot more time. Bit like he'd be a much better player in international football. So I don't understand why Southgate doesn't have him in their team more often. Because much as I don't like him, lower intensity football suits him. because it gives him more time and space, and he can do what he wants.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why he's been looking so good. But you could see definitely his legs were struggling. And without him,
he's a quality player. He's a quality player. And I don't like his antics and all that, and I don't like him as a person. But as a footballer, he's a very good footballer, and he's key to them. Without them, he'd get
driving conviction on he as well this week.
Yeah.
Nobber.
I wonder about the Brighton manager, how he would do in a higher ranked team. If you give him a top 6 side, how would he do it? I'm fascinated by the guy.
If he's given time, I think he'd be fine. The problem is he hasn't got a good enough reputation in English football to be given time, because the fans would turn on him if it didn't get immediate success, and his methods are long term. You know what I mean? He builds for the future. He builds for the long term. Yeah. They're going to take 5 years to really get the benefit of what he does. And I don't think the English fans will stand for that in a top club unless he spends time at Brighton and builds a big reputation. So I don't
think he could manage a top 6 club or a top 8 club. Personally, no. For the simple reason, I don't think he could attract players. You know, his reputation isn't there yet. It might do it in a number of years.
Yeah, that's another thing as well. Yeah, the reputation thing does count against him in that.
Yeah, of course it does.
Yeah.
And the personality, he's not got that kind of
charisma.
I don't know.
No, he's not.
Exactly. He does seem a bit wishy-washy.
I think he's doing a fantastic job at Brighton, but I think that might be his ceiling. At the moment, it's his ceiling. But I'm not saying that he couldn't do, but it won't be in the next couple of years. Maybe after that, if he develops players, which he is doing, and he carries on and they get good results, same as the Southampton manager, I think they are, going to do better in time. That's just what I think.
Oh, look at Billy talking sense. Have you been on the anabolic steroids this week, Billy?
His missus must be telling him what to say. She's obviously up and about. She's sat there feeding him the lines.
Right, where's Billy? Bring Billy back. It's like you've had 3 shredded wheat before you come on the
pod. No one can eat 3 shredded wheat. I've seen the adverts and they told you that.
So Villa, their star shone bright early on, so they're kind of their star is diminishing a little bit, dulling a little bit now. So
I think they're getting results beyond their, the level of the quality of the players they've got, and it's just now they're getting back to their level. It's not a bad thing because they've not long come up. You know what I mean? They're a mid-table team now.
I think they've done very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I must say I'm seriously impressed with that forward they bought from was it Brentford? Watkins.
Watkins.
He didn't have a good game against Brighton, though, did he?
No, he wasn't.
No, but he was
awful against Brighton. Really, but again,
maybe
they did well on him.
But he's a good player.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he's got better to come as well. He's only young.
Yeah,
24, isn't he?
I mean, fair play to Villa. I mean, maybe they didn't have the choice to go out and pay all that money for him because they're not going to attract unless you go out and buy a European player, But I mean, the English are more expensive. But wow, fair play to him for spending that amount of money, and he's come good. He really has.
Smith
he's getting all that valuable experience.
Didn't Smith manage him when he was at? Didn't Smith manage him before?
He might have done. I'm not sure, pal. Yeah, great, good player. I think he'll be an England player within the next year or two.
I wouldn't argue with. Well, no, it depends on who's managing them. If it's Gareth Southgate, he probably won't pick him just because he's a moron.
How's that Traore doing at Villa? Is he playing?
Well, he came on and they brought him on as a sub for someone got injured. I can't remember who it was, didn't he? And then he went off. He went off in the second half because he wasn't having a good game.
I remember the what team did he come from in France? Was it Lille or I can't remember who it was.
I remember him at Chelsea as a kid and didn't think much of him then, and I don't think much of him now, to be honest. I think he's a bit. Yeah, he can be good.
Sorry, mate. Go on.
He can be good for when he wants to be, but most of the time he's awful.
Yeah, they were rejoicing. That's exactly what the French fans were saying about him. That he has one game where he's unplayable, and then he has about 15 there. He couldn't give a toss.
Yeah, he just strolls around doing nothing. It annoys me. I was going to say he's a poor man's Balotelli, but like he's not that cheap either, is he? Oh, and I think you've gone. Go on.
All right, I'll start. All right. So, guys, what players do you think Villa can't do without, and what player do you think Brighton can't do without?
Well, for me, Villa, it'd have to be Grealish. Yeah. I think he was the star for them, and they looked really tired when Grealish looked tired. The whole side looked tired, and he's so important to them. He's the only real quality player that they've got. They've got a couple of good players, but absolute quality, they've only got Grealish. And when he's on fire, they're on fire, and he's so important.
And the way they play, everything goes through him. That's the thing. They're lost without him.
Yeah, you stop Grealish, you stop Villa. Yeah. All right, we're agreed on that. What about Brighton? Would it be Lamptey? Would it be is he their spark? Mopai?
They haven't got a real star player. They're more of a team, like Sheffield United last year. They haven't got no one who I think could say, oh, he's really good, but they play well as a side.
And keep them shredded wheats away from him.
They are, but that's the way Potter. That's what Potter does. Is he produces a team. He builds a team rather than 11 individuals. He makes them into a team. And I think, I was trying to think of someone.
Ben White, Adam Lallana.
Well, Lallana was missing. He was out injured, and they still won. So it's definitely not Lallana.
Solly March, maybe.
Again, they can repeat. He's missed quite a few games for them, and they've done all right.
He just got back in it.
Yeah, I know he's not the greatest defender. He makes things happen for them, and he's a bundle of energy, and he adds energy to the side, and that's their one thing, that they've got lots of energy, and they all work hard, and I really like him. I know he's not great defensively, but he is a good player.
I do think even if they didn't have him in the team, I still think they can still grind out results. I just don't know if there's anyone that I'd say Lamptey. You're probably right with Lamptey being the closest they've got to a player they couldn't do without.
I'm just not used to Billy being lucid.
He's obviously on something strong.
It's the warm milk on the shredded wheat. That's what it is. So it helps with his dentures and his false teeth.
I still reckon his missus is feeding him lines.
All right, guys. So shall we move on to Spurs 2, Man City 0?
Yeah.
And elaborate. Discuss.
Typical.
Spurs got a number on them for me.
Typical Jose, though, isn't it? Just sit back, soak up pressure, and snatch the goals.
Is it the Jose Renaissance? Could it be?
I didn't think it was that good a performance. People raving about it, and I didn't see it was. I thought they Kane and Son were good, but I wouldn't have said anybody else.
Who gives a heck about the performance? If Spurs play badly for 38 games and win the title, Jose won't care.
Oh yeah, I know what you're saying. I agree totally that. But what I mean is, it was people are raving like it's a title-winning performance. It was exactly the same as Leicester did against City. It wasn't anything, it wasn't anything special. It was just sit back, catch them on the break. It's more worrying that City can't create anything at the moment. I would say, what is it? 9 goals in 9 games is all they've scored.
10. 10-8. So this time last year,
I'm sure it's 9-9.
27 goals in the first 8 games City scored last season, and they've scored 10 goals in the first 8 games this season. So, look, what is that? What's that attributed to? Is that Aguero?
Yeah,
or do they have bigger problems?
Partly Aguero, yeah.
Is it David Silva? Is it? I mean, well, they're pressing less and attacking less from their glory years. What's going on?
I'll tell you what's going on. I think teams are working them out. To work them out, you just let them play with the ball as much as you want and then hit them. Because as much as they play really nice, easy on the eye football, against a lot of teams, they're not effective. And they just play around too much at times. Well, that's my idea anyway.
Pep keeps fiddling with everything rather than just getting a good system that the players can understand and stick with it, and then just tweaking it if need be if it's not working. Every game they're going in with a totally different formation, totally different players, and the players are being given totally different instructions. Like he had their left back, whose name I've completely forgotten, but he's a right-sided player anyway. He's a right footer.
Cancelo?
Yeah, Cancelo. That's it. He had him, instead of playing as a normal left back like he's been playing all season, he had him playing just as soon as they had the ball. He was coming inside and playing as like a midfielder and stuff. And it's like he keeps doing this, fiddling about with things. It worked the first time because it catches people by surprise. But once you've done it, it's not going to keep working because the players don't understand what they're doing.
Why does he over-intellectualize football? I don't get.
Because he thinks he's a genius, and he wants to show people he's a genius. Whereas if you are a genius, you don't need to show people you're a genius because you know you are. If you see what I mean. He's trying to prove he's cleverer than everybody else, rather than just he is cleverer than everyone else.
Listen, I'm agreeing with Shredded Wheat Man this because he's definitely. Billy, you're right. They've definitely, they're paying them less respect because it maybe got to do with the fact that they got beat to the title, and they're thinking, right, well, they're beatable. They're not superhuman. Let's have a go at them and see what happens. And maybe they're getting found out. I think that's got a lot to do with it. Obviously, David Silva not being there's got a lot to do with it.
That's a huge part of it. They miss his incisive passing. Without him, they look shadow of the team, even when Aguero was in the team.
Exactly.
I know everyone raves about De Bruyne's passing, but he can't do what David Silva does. He can't play those incisive passes. He can boom a 60-yard crossfield pass, but he can't hit a snide rule, one into the. Yeah. He just can't do that. He hasn't got that. Those 5-6 yard balls in around the box. That's that put someone into space so they can just lay it across to somebody else to slide in. He just doesn't see them. It's just not.
I think the result at the weekend, it said more about City than what it did about Tottenham.
Yeah.
Although Tottenham got a good result and they worked hard. They did work hard, and a player who I'm not a big fan of, Sissoko, done really well for them actually.
Yeah, he did.
And they bullied them a bit in the midfield, but I say City, they flatter to deceive at the moment. They play some really nice stuff, but they're not incisive enough in the final third, and that's why they're not getting the goals.
Can I ask you two something? Now I keep hearing the commentary here was on about while watching that game how great Højbjerg has been since he's joined Spurs. Literally, you would honestly, the verbal masturbation over his play. Every time he just so much as went near the ball, breathed in the same direction as it was going. It was, what a wonderful piece of play by him and how great he's been constantly, the entire game, honestly. Even when he wasn't even when he was nowhere near it. It was just, and I'm sat there thinking, I must be missing something because I like Højbjerg as a player, but I don't think he's been good for Spurs yet. He doesn't look anything like as good.
I think the weekend that was the best game he's played for interest, to be honest with you.
Just a hatchet, man. That was what he was doing. He wasn't playing good. He wasn't playing well. He was just just hacking people down, breaking up the play. He wasn't actually doing anything on the ball at all.
No, you're totally right.
They haven't had that since Dembele left.
Well, Sissoko does that, so they've already got Sissoko doing it. That's what I'm saying. Dembele was because he could win the ball and then do something brilliant. What a player he was.
Absolutely.
No, and when they had Modric, they've had players like that, and then to have Højbjerg, I just think he's just.
No, I haven't been impressed up to now. I thought he had his best game, but before last weekend, I thought he'd been awful.
They're not a very watchable side, are they, Spurs? It must be said. They're typical home side.
Yeah, I don't think Mourinho's sides are. They're hard working and try to get the job done. But, as I say, it said more about City than what it did about Tottenham at the weekend.
Yeah,
can they win the title? Of course they can, but will they?
Anyone could this season. That's the thing. A bit of luck with injuries and COVID stuff, and anyone can win it. So yes, they can win it. This is probably the best chance they're going to have since the year Leicester won it.
I still think they're short for me. It's still a bit short. I don't think they've got the capability of going on a good run where you win 4 games, 5 games in a row. I think there's going to be a couple of draws thrown in along the wins.
But you could have they could have a bit of luck where every opponent they face has half the team out with COVID and injuries.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying is you can't, it's impossible to guess. Right? It's guesswork, isn't it? This season rather than any real. Yeah, I do agree with you. If it was all things were equal, it was a normal season, I think no. They've not quite got enough. I'm with you on that.
And they have Bale to come as
Yeah, is he a bit of a luxury player though? Is he going to play in a Mourinho side? I don't know whether he'll figure much in a Mourinho side.
I mean, it'd be fascinating to see because he hasn't started a game. He's only come he's been on the subs bench. He was going to come on, he comes on for 10-minute cameos, etc. But that's
all he's got, because he's not fit enough. Because he doesn't train properly.
Yeah, but when he does get up to fitness, it'll be interesting to see what Spurs do with him. So let's go back to Pep. How does he solve these problems? Clearly, he's going to do it via the transfer market because I don't think he believes in coaching.
Bring in Messi in the summer.
You know what?
To replace David Silva, he'll bring in Messi.
See, I've got an alternative. I think all he needs to do is bring in Kante. I know they're completely different players, but he shores up that midfield and lets the offensive attacking players do what they do. I think it will have a different
It's not a Pep way, though, is it?
No, but I think that's what he needs.
That's what he should do. He should get somebody like that. And Ndidi from Leicester, someone like that in there, transforms them.
Put Kante. Yeah, exactly. You give Kante 2 seasons in that team. Just say, look, we'll give you whatever money you want. Money's not the issue, obviously, it's Man City, but give us 2 years of your career. Give us your heart and your soul for 2 years. And that team's transformed. He'll be what for... Well,
no, I was going to say, I agree with you. They would be because their weakness is their midfield at the moment. It's dreadful. Yeah. They have got one player in there in De Bruyne, and that's it. That Rodri, he's a shadow of the player he was at Atletico Madrid. Yeah. And the other one, Gundogan, I just don't see anything in him at all. Never did before he joined, and I still don't see what's good about him. I know you like him, Abid.
I do. I think he's a decent player. I think he makes. I do. I like him, but I just think that midfield, like you say, guys, it needs an overhaul.
He's just like Jorginho for me. He's in the wrong league. Yeah. Gundogan, he's too slow, too immobile. He's not a good enough passing range to be dangerous. If he's right on the edge of the box, he might be able to pass because he can only pass 5-6 yards. So.
I think Rodri's a nice player. I think he's a nice player. I don't think he's a very effective player.
He's tiny, but he's not a game changer.
But he was tiny little player. The problem is, this is the problem that we're seeing with Pep's managing players. He's got him playing completely different to the way he was playing at Atletico Madrid. At Atletico Madrid, he was very similar to the way Partey in that played, where he's breaking up play, getting stuck in, yeah. A bit like Kante, but not the same level or anything. It's like, but he was much better player there. He was the kind of player they're missing. Playing under Pep, and he's just a shadow with that. It's ridiculous.
And let's be honest, you don't win nothing with Kyle Walker in your side, are you? He's absolutely awful.
I don't think he is. I think he's very...
I think he's awful.
I think he's great technique, lightning fast. He's just prone to...
He's lightning fast. He just hasn't got a brain, that's all.
That's it. That's his problem. If he had a brain, he'd be a fantastic player.
That was a mean party, I hear. Anyway, the players from each side that Spurs and Man City can't afford to lose.
Harry Kane for Spurs.
For City, it's obviously David Silva, but it's a bit late. They're stuffed already.
Let's rewind a little bit, guys. Let's talk about Harry Kane's new position. He's playing from deeper.
Well, no, that's the position he started out doing before Salah came into the league and beat him to the Golden Boot, and he lost the plot and started, just obsessing over scoring goals. That was the position he always used to play from, because that's why he wears number 10 rather than 9. That's why he chose the number. That was where he wanted to play, and that was how he saw himself, and now he's gone back to what he was doing. He's brilliant again.
He's been excellent, absolutely excellent this year.
Though I have to say, I'd still suggest maybe Son could be the one they could at least do without, because Kane always misses half the season anyway through an ankle injury at some point. He's always going to miss, 3 months or so, isn't he?
Yeah.
But when Son's there, it didn't matter. So I think Son's the one they can't do without, much as Harry Kane's a better player.
I think any team would miss Kane, wouldn't it? Especially the way he's playing at the moment, which is dropping deeper, creating chances as much as scoring, and he makes them tick. And I think I love Son. I think he's a fantastic player. I think if you had a team with Harry Kane in, you'd do okay. But I think if you had a team with just Son...
It's the Jose thing. Son's the harder worker, the one that's going to do all the leg work and all that, and that's more important. That's why I'm saying Son. It's more important to a Jose team is the leg work.
I can see that, I can see that.
Much as, like I said, I think Kane's a better player, much as I love Son. Absolutely adore Son, but I still think Kane's a better player. But, I if they could do without one, because the way they play... Kane doesn't do enough of the running for it to be as important to the way Jose plays. That's what I think. I can see what you're saying as well. Either it's because they'd be lost without Kane as well but they'll have to. But they've managed in the past without him. They've learnt to because they've had to. Because he's always getting an ankle injury, isn't he?
Yeah,
I'm sitting on the fence on that one. I can't. I'm torn between Son and Kane.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I'm talking myself round and round between the two. Yeah.
What about City?
I still think David Silva.
But he's not there, so I'd have to go with De Bruyne. I'd have to go with De Bruyne.
Hey?
That's not saying we're missing Kenny Dalglish.
No, but you know what I mean. It's clear that they've just fallen apart without David Silva. He's got
to be in the.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying that's the big loss. I don't think the rest of them just don't matter without him. That's what I'm saying. So
I think De Bruyne's got to be the one that they've missed because they play everything through De Bruyne.
Aguero for me, I think.
Yeah, that's a good shout. That actually, a really good shout because
since he's gone out injured, they've
just doesn't do it for me.
Oh, he's awful.
I'm not a fan of Jesus.
No, he's awful. He's just so nothing.
Yeah, he's not a player I'd say he was a very good player.
Yeah,
he reminds me of Aubameyang. He plays when he needs to. There's an incentive, but other than that, it's nothing.
When
you get nothing out of him. Exactly when he wants to. All right, guys, let's move on to Man United 1, West Brom 0. Listen, I had no idea. I I have no idea what the consensus is with United fans about Ole. But it seems to me that United hierarchy, the hierarchy I don't know, they've written this season off because by keeping Ole in a job, they're endorsing the football he plays. I just don't understand it. I wish Ken was here because he'd be frothing at the mouth right now. But what I'm saying is that. But what would I just don't get it? I mean, they're 8 games in, they're playing. I mean, all right, they're picking up wins here and there, but
they're winning
the
tonight.
Football is just, I mean, but it's dross. It's absolute dross.
And they were lucky against West Brom, really, because they weren't good. They just I said lucky. But they won. But they weren't convincing. That's what I was trying to say.
The match went through penalty decisions, didn't it?
Yeah.
The West Brom one and then the United one that got retaken. That could have been a 1-0 defeat easily enough because they never played well enough to actually win the game for me.
No, they were very poor. But a win is a win at the end of the day. But yeah, they do. It does. You watch them and you just think it's very.
You've got to look at that Marshall. That Marshall is he's an enigma, isn't he? He's got talent, the lad, but he just doesn't seem as though he wants to play.
Yeah, but Billy, you've got to think to yourself, mate. When you're walk a mile in their shoes. When you're walking in to the club in Man United, one of the biggest clubs in the world, and you're walking in, you've got Ollie managing you and coaching you on a Monday morning, and it's freezing cold. How does he motivate you? What does he give you that you want to run through brick walls for him?
You want to through brick walls for yourself, don't you? For your own personal, your own personal pride that you want to be the best you can, and you put your heart and soul. He strolls back all the time when he loses the ball, which is quite often, and he doesn't interlink with the other players. He's all right when you put the ball on a plate for him.
I hear you totally, but there's a situation where you've been in jobs where the manager boss has been demotivating. It's just not not that you don't want to work for him, but you just want something extra from him, from your management team, and to G you up, to motivate you, to fill you with that pep to run through a brick wall for you.
We've done City. Don't go back on about them.
Yeah, but there's this. I don't see that with all that squad. They just look like they're just meh. They're just there. There's nothing.
They're awful as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it's the same tactics all the time. It's Jose. I mean, they've gone from LVG playing deep lying low block football to Jose playing deep lying low block football, and now they got doing the same with Ole, and it's just counter attack. And thinking this is Man United, that's fine against certain teams. It's understandable, but when you're at home against West Brom, you should be going away against West Brom either. You should be going out there and taking the game to them and dominating them when you're Man United.
Yeah, I agree, Chris.
They decimated my youth, Man United, with that free-flowing football. The wingers
always play free-flowing football. There was times when when they had to sit back and play a low block. There's not every game they would do it. But when they were playing the teams that had come up from the lower division, the promoted teams, they always went out there and took the game to them because they're the ones that you can do that every time against, and you should do it against. Because if you don't dominate them, you give them a sniff, and other teams see that, and they start to think there's a chance they're going to beat, even if they normally would, bottle it against you. You lose that air of invincibility that they've built up. They've lost that completely, and now under Ole, they're losing any semblance of anything at all. They're just looking. Just looking like a poor side, I was going to say, but they've just won 4-1. So.
But listen, this epitomises exactly my point. He does enough to keep his job, but is that good enough? I mean, that's not good enough for me.
No.
I mean, like you said, 3 points and he wins here and there, but it's just not the hierarchy should be looking at this and saying, look, we need to change. This is not Man United. we need change, and they're happy, so they're endorsing it. So whatever.
It's bizarre. I think I just don't understand. It just seems like they don't care. But then we know they don't. They're only interested in making money, and they're making money, the owners. So,
I think that's where the problem lies. Is not actually on the pitch. I know it's got a lot to do with that because it's so negative. But I think their biggest problem is in the boardroom and the owners.
Yeah, but if you change the coach to a decent one, I mean, even if you got, I don't think they help themselves by giving him who they've got. I mean, Carrick's hardly exactly an exciting character, is he? You know what I mean? He's got no charisma, no excitement about him. And Mike Phelan, I mean, his brand of football is diabolical, and that's what they're playing, is his brand of football.
But
give him some coaches who know what they're doing.
It's not the hierarchy's fault. Ole should be going in there saying, "Look, I want this, I want that, I want this."
I'm not saying it's not his fault. What I'm saying is that somebody should be saying we need to change this.
You see, the thing is with United, the same thing happened with Mourinho. He wanted certain players, he wasn't giving them, so he lost heart and he got sacked. And they want yes men who are going to say, we'll take this player. Maybe I might want him, or we might want him, but you're getting him anyway. And you're going to fit him into the team. And that's what's happening with United, for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. He's just a yes man, and because he'll just
he's just a yes man.
Yeah.
He's like Steve Bruce. He's exactly the same.
Absolutely.
Same brand of football as well.
Yeah. Yes man, brand of football. Happy to be there.
He's just got better players.
Can't believe he's actually got the job. They're all. Anything to say about West Brom apart from the fact they're going down?
Dreadful. They really are an awful.
They're not a good set.
And be it loggerheads with the chairman, and that's really not helping matters. So
they reckon they're going to get taken over by an American hedge fund in January or December for 150 million. I think that's quite cheap for a Premiership football club, although there might not be one come next season.
Yeah, that's the thing, because they're not definitely a Premier League club. It's a bit.
Yeah. Players at Man United player that can't afford to lose, or can't afford to lose.
Fernandes from me. I think he makes them sick.
Yeah. I was just thinking maybe Rashford. Even when he's not playing well, he works hard and provides an outlet.
He does work hard,
and they need the player with the pace over the top, because the way they play deep. So they need someone.
He provides them.
Yeah, could be right. Yeah.
He provides them with pace and dinner.
So, exactly.
So he's invaluable. They can't live without him.
Great PR. They need him.
Yeah, they do need him. Yeah. Without him, they're shambles, aren't they?
I would probably agree with you, Billy. I think Fernandes for me, because I think he's the one that is the linchpin there.
I'd say it's between Fernandes and Rashford, and I'd probably plump for Fernandes, to be honest. But I was just suggesting another option just in case.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I think I'd agree with you, to be honest, if I was going to say there's one. But then again, that Van der Beek can play the same position, the same style of football as Fernandes, so maybe they can afford to do that.
If he gets on the pitch,
well, that's the thing, isn't it? And obviously there's Pogba, because
absolutely. There is Pogba.
Of West Brom, I don't think any of their players are good enough to matter, are they?
I think Slaven Bilic is the most important thing to them at the moment. More important man on the books. Because without him...
Maybe that Pereira is probably their only...
He's
not special, is he,
No.
They are woeful. Let's move on, guys. Billy?
Yeah.
Billy?
Everton,
we are 2, Everton 3.
Right. Well, the first half, it was like watching Brazil. I'll be honest with you. Fantastic. They were fantastic first half. Really good.
Come on. Who playing Fulham?
It was watching Brazil.
They're the only team on a similar level to West Brom.
Do you mean watching Alan Brazil?
Yeah, I think that's what he means.
Now, do you know what? We went out in that game and we started from the first minute. We're at them and playing lovely, quick, flowing stuff. Half time, I don't know. I want a drug test on them because I don't know what happened and what they put in the tea. But they come out a totally different side out in the second half. And thought, yeah, we'll sit back on this 3-1 and coast. And that's, that's what we're going to do. And they were awful, absolutely awful. And if it was a draw, I wouldn't have been complaining. And they're a bad side.
Did you see Carlo's face at full time? He was absolutely distraught and livid in equal measure. You should have seen his face. I've never seen his face like that.
Yeah, I've seen him, yeah.
I did say to you, I said to you on on the WhatsApp, didn't I? I said to you about it. It's quite weird the way Carlo seems to be taking very much a back seat and letting his son do all the... Because every bit of instruction was coming from his son. Every shout, telling them what to do was coming from his son. And that worries me because they started off so well when Carlo was clearly hands-on, and now he seems to be taking a back seat. Which is what he did at Bayern.
I think it's passing on the baton, I think he's like landing his son up to be the next manager.
I said that to you, didn't I? I said that. I'm half convinced that he's only taken the job to give his son a job. Because it does seem to be like he's trying to get his son in at places. Because he did that at Bayern, and he ended up with the players were so fed up of the way his son was coaching the fitness side. They were off in a local park training after they'd finished training with his son. And I noticed that quite a lot of people on the Everton site are complaining about the lack of fitness of the Everton players, which was what was happening at Bayern. So is it happening again? I thought he sorted it all out when the way they started this season, but
I think there's going to be a transition somewhere, but he's the one who's making the decisions at the moment, I feel. But if he's making decisions like putting Sigurdsson on every week, all the supporters are going absolutely berserk about him playing every week.
I know
he's
you love him.
Absolutely dreadful. He's dreadful.
Is his son the number 2?
Yeah.
Is he
Carlo's
fitness coach?
Yeah, but he's basically the number 2. I know Ferguson is in name, but he's the number 2, really.
Yeah, well, when you heard, because you can hear all the shouts, you could hear he was doing all the shouting. Ferguson never, I don't think I heard Ferguson once, but I heard his son, and when they went for at the back, it was him shouting Quattro, 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 and you're thinking, why is it him? Why isn't Carlo doing this? Or Ferguson? They're the two that should be in charge of everything.
Yeah.
It does worry me that.
And why is he shouting it in Italian?
I don't know. That's what I was thinking at the time, because I was thinking, why is they shouting Quattro? Why not just say 4? I mean, he obviously just forgot himself, didn't he? You know what I mean? It's like he's just reverted to his native language because he's angry because they were playing so badly at the time.
Yeah, they were second half awful.
Are you guys telling me, which I find very hard to believe, is that Carlo is transitioning his son into the manager's job?
It could.
It's not.
It's not beyond the realms of possibility.
No, I don't mean it like that. I mean it's where he's stepping back. He's there as just overseeing, letting his son do. Not as in he's transitioning over. I think he's just taking the job, and he's just overseeing his son rather than he's taking the job to do it himself, because he doesn't need the money. He doesn't really care. I mean, he was quite happy not to get another job. Oh.
Yeah, but there's going to come a time where Everton...
That's exactly what happened at Bayern. He just sat back and let his son do everything, and that was why it all fell apart.
Yeah, but there's going to come a time where if he carries on coasting like this, the Everton fans are going to be up in arms because they didn't employ the guy on 10, 50, whatever million pound a year it is to do what he's doing.
Yeah, but he doesn't really care, does he?
For his son to be in charge.
He's still got the pulling power, Abid. He's still got the pulling power to bring the players in. He's the one who's getting. I know Brands is having something to do with it as well, but he's the one who's got the pulling power to get you these players, the Allens and the Jameses, and players like that. And that's what he's doing. And he's like, he seems not to be hands-on as what you'd expect him to be.
You've got to say, though, of all the people they could get, right, Everton get the two least exotic sounding players when they get the exotic players, James and Allen. I mean, only Everton could end up buying a pair of exotic South American superstars, and both of them sound like local lads.
Jimmy and Allen, yeah.
I mean, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Billy, I'm glad you mentioned Brands, but because there's rumours of going to United. What do you think of that?
Christ, no, you've set him off. What have you done to him? You God! Christ, phone 999.
It's time. We feared this moment, Billy. Not gonna lie.
He's there was talk about him going. Talks about him going to Roma as well, but they've got a new coach now and a new director. And I don't think he'll go to United because I don't think United are going to have a director of football. That's my personal view. I think he'll sign a new deal. Everton have confidence of him signing a new deal.
Yeah, I think it's just nonsense.
Is he any good, though?
Pardon?
Is he any good?
I think he is.
Good at his job. Yeah.
I think he is good at his job. I think his hands were tied by Mashiri last year and the year before because Mashiri was picking who comes in with his advisors that wasn't Brands at the time. And I think there was a big mix-up. But I think Brands has took more of the reins now and he's the one who's doing all the deals. And he's done some good dealing.
There was clearly a pissing competition there, for sure.
Yeah.
Mate, you've got to talk about Calvert-Lewin because the guy's on fire and scoring for fun.
Yeah. He's doing very well, very well.
My only fear is you don't keep him because he's probably on the transfer list, scouting list of a lot of clubs around Europe.
He will be, yeah. And a lot bigger clubs than Everton. I heard that Juventus are looking at him.
Everton?
Yeah, a bigger club than Everton. At the moment, we're up and coming. We're still in transition since 1995.
He's one of those players that just exploded out of nowhere, and just his star is so bright at the moment. And he really could be a big money move out from you guys.
Yeah, he's as near to Harry Kane as you get in the Premiership at the moment. That type of player, he's a cracking target man, and his control is very, very good, and he's scoring goals, which he hasn't been doing.
I would have said he's more of a Andy Gray type player that is in rather than a Harry Kane, because Harry Kane creates, Calvert-Lewin doesn't.
Yeah, possibly.
He's a target man who gets on the end of things, and he's brilliant at what he does, but he's a totally different player from Kane for me.
But he gets the ball and he holds it up and he lays it off. And as you say, possibly more Andy Gray, but he brings other players in. And he's so good at holding the ball. He's strong, and he's great in the air. And for a team like Everton who do play number of long balls, he brings other players into the thing. That's why I'm saying
you've got players that can put good deliveries into the box for the header. So a player like that is invaluable to you.
Yeah, look at Dean picks them out nearly every time,
That's the only reason Ferguson's there, Because Calvert-Lewin leans on him. Whenever you watch them going off the pitch at half-time and full-time, and every time it's him and Ferguson together. Always.
He's a good young man.
Head talking together, you know what I mean? Well, Ferguson talks him through the game. That's the reason why Ferguson's number 2, and they won't get, there's no way they'd change that. Is one because Ferguson.
I must go back to Abbott's point that I think some will come in for him. Whether Everton let him go is another thing. They wouldn't want to, obviously. He's just signed a long-term deal. But I can see a couple of bigger clubs I'm talking about top clubs, top European clubs coming in for him. Carlo reckons he was, I know, it might be just paper talk, but Carlo said that he was looking at him when he was at Roma, and he was on the radar then, and he's certainly improved since then, so who knows?
I can see there'd be interest, but I can't believe anyone could tempt Everton to sell him, because I don't think... we're talking about the one player you can't do without. He's clearly the Everton one.
Yeah.
Straight away, there's no doubt.
Now? It has to be...
Yeah.
His value must be 60, 70 plus.
Yeah, I think maybe a bit more.
But I think Everton had won a lot more than that before they'd consider selling him.
Yeah, they would,
the money.
If Andy Carroll's worth 35 million... all those years ago, this guy must be worth double that at least.
Million, let's be honest. It was a similar situation. They didn't need to sell. So you have to give them a lot more than they're worth to get them to sell. And I think we're
in a stronger financial position now than what we've ever been. So we don't have to sell.
Exactly. I can't see him. I can't see Everton selling him.
I hope not.
Like I said, he's the one player they can't do without.
Yeah.
Guys, I've changed my opinion on last week when we were talking about Scott Parker. At the end of the game, he looked so forlorn and miserable. I think that he needs to be put out of his misery because he was just...
Well, be shot. That's a bit harsh, isn't it? I've been put down. I mean, for God's sake, he's only, he's just a crap manager. You can't have people put out of their misery for that. That's going a bit far. That.
I really felt sorry for him when he's walking off that pitch at the weekend. It was just, he looked seriously abject, and I really do believe firing.
I think Trish has said all along, haven't you, Trish? He's just not up to the game,
He was dreadful. They were awful in Championship. I don't know how on earth they won promotion because every time they won, they're going to get battered here, and somehow they just seem to fluke results. I don't know how they done it because they were awful and they just don't look any better. They're not a good manager, not at all. He's not ready. Maybe
this is going to sound like the dumbest question of all time, but what one player can't Fulham live without? I mean, I couldn't even tell you.
Isn't it?
Mitrovic, yeah, I'd like to say Mitrovic.
Yeah,
but he's not very good. That's the thing. That's their problem.
That's why I'm so.
He's a Championship level striker, and he's their best player by a mile.
Is it me, or does he put a lot of weight on? Is he bulked up?
He doesn't look fit, does he? But
he looks very unfit and really stocky, He seems to have put a lot of weight on. Don't know whether that's intentional or what to build him up, but
he just doesn't look so maybe he put on weight while he was out injured because he wasn't able to train properly.
Maybe, but he's lost mobility.
Struggle with it, don't they, with their weight?
Yeah.
Firmino puts on weight the minute he's not training fully. Some people
do. Bobby.
Yeah, Bobby. He's always. Haven't you seen him in the summer? He always comes back looking like a hot air balloon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He always does. He puts on the pounds.
What about the player that? Excuse me, Everton can't.
Calvert-Lewin.
Calvert-Lewin, yeah.
Yeah, Calvert-Lewin, very much so.
All right, guys, let's move on to Sheffield United 0, West Ham 1. I'm going to go on record and say I hope Sheffield United stay up.
And that's a weird thing to say. Did they?
No, they were just the finishing. They just McBurney missed a few chances.
He's a dog keeper. I mean, how much did they pay the money for him? He's crap.
Yeah, look, actually, the weekend he could have scored 2. And he was a bit unfortunate. I'm not his biggest fan, I must say, but he could have scored 2. He's very unlucky hitting the post and the bar.
I'm not sure it's unlucky because he does it all the time. You know what I mean? He skies everything. I just don't think he's good enough. I don't think he's got the right attitude and the right lifestyle.
I wouldn't know about his personal
well, he's been in trouble for going with his lifestyle. It's a bit partyish, isn't it?
All right, I didn't know that.
I mean, he works hard, but so what? You can put David McGoldrick works hard, but he does a better job for the team than whereas McBurney, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be in the stand somewhere when he's had the ball at his feet.
But mate, that's another championship level player at best.
Yeah, but at least, I agree that McGoldrick's not good enough, but at least he does a role for the team. Whereas McBurney, every time he gets the ball, it's in the stand. He doesn't do a role for the team. He works hard and then he wastes it all the time. It's constant. He turns over the ball, and he is a big part of the reason why they'll go down if they go down, because he's shit. Until he learns to control a shot or play a pass when he's in the position, because he's so shit at shooting, just pass it. Until he learns to actually, keep the ball for his team, they're always going to be in trouble.
I feel sorry for them though, Sheffield United, because they're all working for the manager. You can see that. Yeah. They're just having no luck at times. I know it's easy to say, but they're not getting the rub of the green at all, like penalty decisions and things like that. Hitting the bar and other teams getting a lucky goal against them. And things do go against you. And I feel so sorry for the manager. And the players are still with him, and you can see that. But like the other teams we've mentioned, the Fulhams and the West Brom, there's no outstanding player. There's no absolute quality there. There's good players and a good team, a good work ethic, but no stars, and I think that's going to hurt them.
Yeah. Sheffield United, I agree, Billy. I agree. They're littered with good players. And I also believe that, I know this is going to sound really dumb, that 1 point after 9 games, I still think they're going to stay up. I really do. I don't think they can't get any.
Yeah, there's plenty of dross, isn't there, to choose from. So
yeah.
West Brom and Fulham are the only ones I'd say are definitely 100% going down.
Yeah.
So they've got a chance, but I don't know, because I think Burnley are the one I'd put, if out of the 4 at the bottom right now, I'd put money on Burnley to stay up out of the 4 of them, even though they're a mess because they take over, but they've got a takeover coming, haven't they? So
yeah,
I put money.
They got a win as well Saturday.
So I put money on the fact that Sheffield United stay up. I just can't get any worse. No, let me reiterate that they cannot get any unluckier.
Yeah, I don't know, because sometimes when you're that unlucky, it just becomes self-fulfilling. It just gets worse and worse, and your head's drop and that. And unless they get a goal scorer, they're in trouble for me. I think I'm with Ken on this one. I think they're in trouble this season because they just haven't got anyone to put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, honestly, I think they're going to click into gear sometime soon, real soon, and motor up the table. I put good money on them to stay up, for sure, because I think there's a lot more dross above them in the table. Fulham, West Brom, like you mentioned, Burnley possibly. I think they can easily catch up. They're only they're probably 2 points away from their next from the team next above them.
I hope that's you're right. Win. I'd like to see them stay up.
I love them. I love Sheffield as a city. I spent a lot of time there. I've got family there. I just think they've got a lot going for that city.
That's a good reason to get rid of it. You spent.
Yeah, I'd like to see them. We're going to West Ham now, aren't we? Because we were talking about our West Ham. They're one of the wishy-washy teams. I know we've said wishy-washy a lot this podcast, but they really are a wishy-washy side. And Haller, for me, I know he scored the goal on Saturday, but he's an awful player, isn't he? He's got nothing.
He's just a bit lazy, isn't he? He doesn't do enough. That's Bobby that doesn't do enough for you, isn't it? Sorry, I forgot. Yeah.
You're the same mold.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. You were doing so well today, Billy. You were doing so well. Bring your missus back. Get your missus back over to help you.
Bobby McBurney, his name should be.
And then you go by saying,
We're on about Haller. How did McBurnie come into it? Oh,
just popped in my head, that one.
Oh, God help me.
No,
what did I do to deserve this? In a previous life, I must have been such a shit.
Something stupid. Right. Okay. Well, I tell you what. I tell you one thing about Haller. Really, because he was getting a mountain of criticism for a while, but I don't think it was the world-class goal that people were saying it was. It was well hit, but the keeper got a hand to it and should have saved it, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think there might have been a deflection in there as well. But
I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe, yeah. But you know what? You're talking about wishy-washy, Bill. I cannot stand that management team, that hierarchy. There's nothing about them that is endearing. The owners or the manager.
Hate the owners.
No, I don't like them at all myself.
I'm not sure the West Ham fans are like the owners.
No, they can't stand. No, none of them on the site seem to. Anyway, they're just glad they're quiet at the moment.
It beggars belief. They're like they are for me. They're the same as Ashley for Newcastle.
Yeah.
No, because the difference is that Ashley doesn't want to be. He's not bothered about the publicity or anything like that. He just wants to take money out of them. The goal, Sullivan and Brady want to be seen and be involved in everything. They want to be, they want to be the centre of attention. They want it all to be about them, and that was their problem. Is Sullivan was doing all the choosing the players and everything. That's why they're shite, because he was trying to pick the players and everything.
But to be fair to West Ham, they've done okay this year. They've got some good results, and I don't think they're the greatest team to watch, but no, David Moyes' team is great to watch. It's all about hard work, and they are very much in the mould of a few clubs that are in mid-table now.
Gotta say,
they're just happy to survive and stay in the Premier League.
I've got to say, oh, sorry, go on.
Sorry, no, I'm just saying I don't think they've got much ambition.
Yeah, they said they were going to be in the whole point of this new stadium was put them in the Champions League, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. But Moyes, you got to give him credit, because it's because of him standing his ground and telling the owners what he wanted to take, to come back and making sure he got it. That's changed things. It's not going to make them a top team. They're never going to, it's not going to put them in the top 4. But what he'll do is he'll steady the ship and he'll make them a decent half decent Premier League side. And to be honest, I don't think there's a lot more they can hope for at the moment. Not until they've got some money in the bank so they can spend and buy better players. And
I totally agree with that, Trish. Yeah, he's a hard-working manager. His style's not great, but he does get his players playing for him, and he's done very well for them, and they're doing okay. They're doing what they are going to do all the time at the moment, which is survive, take points off teams, and basically be okay, be safe, and that's all they're doing.
I think they'll be hovering above relegation. I don't think they'll be going down. I'm not sure they'll be mid-table, to be honest with you. I think they'll be around 13th, 14th, 15th come end of the season.
It depends on their one player that they can't afford to do without, Mr. Mikel Antonio, for me. If they can keep him fit, they'll be fine, top half. If they can't keep him fit, if he keeps going out injured, they're going to struggle to stay in the top half. And
he does struggle with injuries, though, Tris, doesn't he? He's out every other week, it seems, or he goes off, or...
Yeah, he suffers a lot with soft tissue injuries, which suggests to me he's simply not fit enough. Because you don't get that, the amount he's had. Whether he's fit enough now, but it's too late because he's already damaged them as a youngster. He wasn't fit enough at the time initially.
Yeah, and he's a big lad, isn't he? He's a big unit, to be carrying that much weight. I know it's all muscle, and he's so quick as well, and he makes the difference there, doesn't he? From them being...
Yeah, they can't. He's the one they can't do without.
Yeah, I'd say that.
Was he back on Saturday?
No.
He wasn't,
no,
was he?
That's why Haller played.
No. Yeah. And what about Sheffield United, the player they can't afford to lose?
They lost him, Henderson. They're in a similar position to City, where their problems come down to the one they've lost. But and the ones they're out injured, the defenders. That's the other thing. If they lost that Basham now, I think it'd be the one.
Yeah, Chris Basham.
I think Fleck coming back is going to improve them immeasurably.
Well, he was back
really rate him as a player.
Yeah, he was back
exactly. I think he's going to. Once he gets back to full fitness, I think he'll improve that squad.
But they've had
so
many problems with injuries. I mean, that Ender Stevens was out now, wasn't he, and stuff. Like, it's like, they're in real trouble.
Out. Sander Berg's out now as well, isn't he?
Yeah, that's what I mean. They're in, and they've got no strength and depth. But I do think if that Basham goes out as well, they're gone.
Yeah.
Is Jack Rodwell still playing for them?
No, he left on the
No, is he gone? Yeah, okay. All right, guys, let's move.
I think he's pushing trolleys in Asda.
No, he'd never do that. It's too much work.
He'll injure himself.
No, he is still there. No, he is still there.
He was training with them, but I don't know whether they give him a contract.
I thought they'd let him go in the summer.
I know he was training with them, but then that's the last updates I had on Jack Rodwell.
I tell you, that's a good example of somebody taking the money and putting a halt to their career.
Well, do you remember when he left Sunderland when they got relegated?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had high hopes from him as a Everton.
He went to City from Everton, didn't he?
Yeah, he did,
yeah.
Big money.
Yeah.
And he was
he took the payback.
Never bothered since. That was it. He just stopped bothering, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's move on to Leeds 0, Arsenal 0. How did Arsenal get away with a draw?
Oh.
That is.
The biggest thing for me, though, from that is I think it's shown why they're in so much trouble. Not because of the performance on the pitch, but Arteta afterwards immediately pointing the finger at Pepe. If you had someone like Jose there when he was at his peak, he might say, yeah, he made a mistake, and that, but he'd defend him. You know what I mean? Even though even though it was a stupid thing to do, and that, he wouldn't throw it. But Arteta's throwing him under the bus. It's all his fault. He's let us down and all this, and you're thinking that's not how you get your players on side. It's no wonder none of them are playing for you.
Yeah. They've got big problems, Arsenal, haven't they? I think they've got major problems.
Crap. He wasn't a good player, and he's not a great manager. Like you keep the media keep making out. He's not. He hasn't got a clue. He's upsetting the players. I told you about Lacazette, where he wound him up so much on the pitch that they were having a screaming match at each other mid-game and stuff like that. And since then, Lacazette hasn't played a single decent game since then, because he just has no idea about man management. He's an arsehole.
There's the Ozil issue as well, isn't it?
Sorry?
The Ozil issue as well with Arsenal.
That's Edu, though.
Yeah, I know, but there seems a lot of trouble behind the scenes, doesn't there? It doesn't seem to be a very well-run club at the moment.
Not. No man management there at all.
I'm not trying to create any waves, but could it be the reason why Aubameyang's not...
No, he just got his money. He doesn't care anymore. This was the same issue he had at Dortmund when they gave him his first decent contract there. He just stopped bothering.
He's talented as well, isn't he? He is talented.
I don't think he's talented. He's quick, and he's got when he get because he's got such. He gets in the right position, but as in his first touch is awful and stuff like that. Like all he is you've just got to give him the ball in the box, getting on the box, and he'll put it in the back of the net because he's calm. You know what I mean? He's got good composure.
That's what we want. That's what we want from a centre forward.
He's not very good. That's why he's at Arsenal, because he's not that good. If he was a great player, he wouldn't be at Arsenal.
But they did look awful against Leeds, didn't they? Did you watch the game, Trish?
Oh, completely outplayed.
Yeah, they were, yeah.
listen, if it wasn't for, if Bamford didn't play with blinkers, he'd be top scorer in the Premiership. It's ridiculous how many goals, easy opportunities he misses.
I know. He's not. It's just. I know Ken rates him, but that is Bamford all over. It's always how he's always been throughout his career.
I didn't even think he was good enough to get into the positions he gets himself into. So he's for me, he surprised me there. But God, he misses some easy chances. Does he try and just make it too complicated or put it into the corners? Well, he just does.
I don't know how he misses them. Honestly, I don't know, because I've never seen a player who misses so many easy chances as well. It's not like they're difficult ones. He could have an open goal from a yard out and he'd find a way to put it over the bar.
Bobby Bamford, that's who it is.
Don't encourage him, Abby. Don't encourage him. Don't encourage him, please.
That made me chuckle. That really did make me chuckle. But you carry on for a second.
Oh my God's sake.
I swear to you, I got tears in my eyes.
You're like Almiron's agent, the pair of you. There's only one professional here, and it's not me, is it?
Felix misses.
Yeah. Can you ask her if she can feed me some lines as well?
You've had enough to eat, mate. I've seen your waistline. Listen, what's going on with Leeds? They'll stay up for sure, right?
Yeah.
Will he delve into the transfer market in January? Bielsa?
I'd expect so.
Yeah, I think they will.
Yeah. I think that, the only fear I have for Leeds is that Bielsa is so off the. He's not going to be there for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I don't see him being. In fact,
this is his third season.
Yeah,
so
but
you just said he's not going to be there for 2, 3, 4, 5. He's already been there for 2.
No.
Do you mean
coaching
2 more?
Leeds in the Premiership?
Yeah.
No, yeah, exactly, in the Premiership, because he's that just off the wall, batshit crazy. That he could just give it up tomorrow, and not for it to go fishing or take a career up in fishing or something.
No, he wouldn't do that. He wouldn't do that. He loves football. He's obsessed with football. He'd never leave the game.
No, but he's that zany, I wouldn't expect him to be at Leeds in 2 years' time.
They're very easy on the eyelids, though, aren't they? They're a nice team to watch. I'm full of praise for them, and I think they're going to do well. I think they'll finish top 10. I'd expect Leeds to.
I couldn't argue with that.
The fact is, with Bielsa, what I really want to see is you give him a massive budget, you give him quality players. I want to see him go to a United or a Chelsea or Arsenal or whatever and see what he can do. I feel that you're giving him a disservice by giving not, and that's disrespectful to Leeds, but I really, in his swan song, in the winter of his career, I want him to have a top job with budget and quality players, and let's see what he can do.
But the problem was in the past is he could never relate to the fans and the players and that. You know what I mean? He was too aloof. Whereas at Leeds, for some reason, he just seems to have fitted right there. The fans have taken him to heart. Everybody at the club seems to, and it's just fitting him right. So I don't know that I think it's probably the right place for him.
Yes, for a simple reason. I don't think he'd be great with players with big egos. Yeah, and I think his main attribute for me, Bielsa, is that he gets players playing better than what they've ever played with anybody else. he coaches them and he improves players. And I think that's the whole strength of Marco Bielsa, rather than going in with the lad who plays for United midfielder, what's his name?
Clearly, Billy's wife is back.
I don't think he could handle a Pogba or a big name like that. Who's going to mess him about or
they got to work hard.
Yeah, they have got to work hard.
Or conversely, they might have the utmost respect for him and work hard for him and go through those brick walls for those figurative brick walls for him.
He certainly wouldn't put up with passengers.
No, exactly. Maybe he would give Pogba the kick up the arse that he needs, or give him that incentive to play for him, because obviously Pogba ain't no Pogba. Paul hasn't got any. Hasn't got the incentive to play for Ollie. I don't blame him. Who would? He's a cracking player. He's got the talent.
Pogba's always played like this. It's just the way he plays.
Yeah, that's in Pogba's makeup. That I think Marshall's from the same cloth.
Did he play at Juventus like that? I'm not sure.
Yeah, he was a highlight reel player. Everyone thought he was great because you saw the highlight reels and he'd do some nice little flicks and that. But that was all he did.
Yeah.
You give Paul a.
He's a bit like Mario Balotelli, where he does it. He just does a little bit, and that's it.
He's much better than Balotelli. I think anyway.
Balotelli at his best could have been the best in the world. He was fantastic. We just didn't bother trying, and that's what Pogba's doing. Exactly the same.
This is what I'm saying, though, mate. Give him a manager that will not bow down to him, and I think he won't
get in the team and he won't play because he's just not that kind of player. A manager like Klopp wouldn't have a Pogba in their team. They wouldn't sign him.
Yeah.
I think you're right, Chris. Yeah.
That is how he plays. That is how he is. He's just one of those. He's a show off. He just wants to do flashy little tricks, and he doesn't want to do a lot of it. He doesn't want to do the hard work. He just wants to look good.
You mean he's not a 90-minute player?
No, he's a
5-minute
highlight reel hero. That's what he is.
I know this is going to sound again silly, but I think Arsenal have got more problems than Leeds.
Oh, a lot more.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
They need to overhaul. They need to get rid of Edu, and they need to get rid of Arteta, and they need to replace them with somebody decent. If it was me, I'd bring in Ranić, get rid of Edu and Arteta, and let him build the club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely a good shout. Yeah.
The guy from Leipzig, and if he could get Nagelsmann underneath him, but that's asking a miracle, isn't it? He's not going to do that. But, there's plenty of others out there. Marco Rose would be the other one I'd look at if I was them. Ralph Ranić with Marco Rose to work under him, transform them without needing to buy a load of players. Just the players they've got. It's not like they're short of decent players.
So really, what
they're complaining that they're struggling to create stuff, and they've got the player who holds the records, holds records in all the stats of assists in Ozil that's not even allowed in the squad. I mean, how ridiculous is that when you complain about no creativity and Ozil sat at home watching on the telly? It's their own worst enemies, Arsenal.
It's a train wreck down there at Arsenal. It really is. I mean, I don't know.
You were going to say Highbury then, weren't you? Because that's what I was thinking. I was trying to remember the name of the stadium.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody with an ounce of a reputation would go down there and take that job, because it really needs to be an overhaul, like you said. It needs.
I wouldn't want to work under Edu. You wouldn't want to work under Edu.
To be an Arsenal fan.
He's got a terrible reputation.
As what?
For the role, he's above the manager, basically. Sporting director sort of thing, whatever it is. I can't remember what his actual thing is.
What's his reputation, though?
Awful. Arrogant. Impossible to work with.
Oh, okay. That doesn't help matters, does it?
No.
All right, guys. Go on, mate.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, and he's the one in charge. You know, he's the one above the manager, so that really makes it difficult.
Guys, the players that Leeds and Arsenal can't afford to lose.
Leeds, I think it's Phillips, because they really struggled, didn't they?
Yeah.
He's key to the way Bielsa plays. Always that one in front of the defence is always very key to the way Bielsa plays football.
Yeah, I'm with you, Phillips.
I think it's Partey for Arsenal, probably.
Yeah, because he wasn't playing, and they. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I think even with him in, they're still going to struggle because of the bad management. Great player that he is. The problem is they need, until they get rid of who's above them, who's in charge. It doesn't really matter. But Partey is definitely their key player.
Yeah.
All
right, guys. Liverpool 3, Leicester 0. Now, before we get to the eulogy about Liverpool's display,
I need to get the tissues.
I was trying to say one thing. James Milner is on performance-enhancing drugs and needs to be banned from football for breaching doping.
Don't even say that. Don't even suggest it.
How the
Yorkshire tea does it, mate. Yorkshire tea does it. Can't you tell by the way I am? It's it's the Yorkshire tea. We both drink it, and that's why I'm the same. You see, non-stop energy, always running around everywhere. That's what it is.
30 years of age, in the middle of a pandemic, and look at him. He's like a Duracell buddy. It was amazing to see. I mean, the blind could see he was man of the match.
Some of the passes, I think Jota might argue about that.
No, but the pass to Mane to set up, the pass to set. Jesus,
some of his passes were brilliant and
incredible. I mean, listen, we'll go on to Liverpool's performance in a minute, Billy, because you're going to do the review of the game. Milner gives you, I don't know, qualities like, intangible qualities like, experience, leadership, being vocal. These are the things you can't quantify with stats.
I pointed out...
These are priceless.
Sorry, I just wanted to say I pointed out when I did the review of the game, pointed out before the game they were showing the warm-up. And, just the players are all in a circle doing their stretches and that together. And there's just two players going through all the instructions, telling the players how they were going to play, giving them the big speeches and that. And that was Milner and Robertson. And I think you can see that in their performances. That's the way they play as well. They're leaders, those two.
Right, can I give you my take on it? No, I'll give you my take on the game.
Go on, you're going to tell us Leicester were just shit and we were lucky. Go on.
No. All the talk before the game was about Liverpool's injuries and how Leicester had a really good chance of turning them over. And that was all the pundits were saying that. And it never happened for the simple reason Liverpool players, whether they're first team, second team, whatever, have got a mentality, a winning mentality. They go out and they play for the manager and they do the job. Whoever it is, doesn't matter who comes in. And that's why they're the best team in the league, because of that mentality that Klopp's instilled in all them players. It doesn't matter who's out. And someone comes in and they do a job. And they're so strong mentally. Is really testament to the manager for me.
Bill, I agree, because you know what you're saying is, in a nutshell, it's the system and the psychology, not the players.
Yeah,
yes, exactly. I hear you 100%, and he's like you're saying, that psychology is instilled in, like that mentality monsters phrase he coined, and it's so true because he plays a system. He plays whatever system he plays. It's not about the players or the superstars It's about the collective and it's about the system and it's the way he's psychologically drilled them.
You're spot on, Albert. You're spot on.
The minute their backs are to the wall, they just come out fighting. and play even better.
Do you know what? I've got my. You've just hit the nail on the head there, Tristan, because I believe one of my notes has said on my notes is I seriously believe Klopp, right, he's a sicko. I think he prefers those. He wants challenges. He wants problems so he can find solutions. Do you get what I'm saying? Like you're saying, back to the walls. He finds a solution, like Barcelona. You know, I mean, I can name you hundreds of games, right? But he thrives on these problems so he can find a tactical solution or a way to win.
You've got to say, though, Rodgers did play a bit into our hands with his decision not to do anything about Bobby Firmino at all. He just left him to run at the park for 90 minutes. Or 89 minutes. No, 90 minutes.
I think Leicester were played off the park. Well, I know they were played off the park. And I don't think Rodgers could do anything about it. He only underestimated them, and I don't think he underestimated Bobby.
But if you watch all the games where we've played poorly, when Firmino's on the pitch, we play poorly. When he's marked out, when they've got players all around him and not giving him time and space, Leicester just sat and let him have as much room as they wanted. They had a player in the middle there, but he was nowhere near Bobby at any point. And every time, Bobby dropped off, one of the midfielders, usually Keita when he was on the pitch, moved into that position. Moved up forward so the defenders couldn't come out to him. Kept him back, and they didn't have a clue how to deal with it.
Even if they'd man-marked Bobby, I think that was such a I think that psychologically you were so pumped. So maybe it was, like you said, back to the whole thing, siege mentality, whatever it was. If they'd have marked Bobby out of the game, Mane would have done something, or Jota would have done something.
We'd still beaten them. I'm not saying that. I'm saying they didn't help themselves. They made it an easier task for us, because whenever Bobby plays well, we play well.
Absolutely. 24 shots on target.
A lot of papers were saying that Leicester never turned up. Not that they never turned up, they weren't allowed to play.
Liverpool pressed them into the ground. That was the problem, is every time they got the ball, they were looking to play the balls to Vardy that they did against City. They were looking to play exactly the same way as they did against City. Sit back, soak up pressure, and then play Vardy in over the top. But every time they got the ball, they weren't given the time and space to pick Vardy out. So they ended up just turning it straight back over to Liverpool. That wasn't because Leicester let us win. That was because Liverpool gave them no time and space.
They did, Tristan. They did at the beginning of the game and a bit of the second half, but we just overturned.
Yeah, every time they got a foothold, we just got stepped up. Jones had a really good game as well.
And Jones was playing, and it wasn't his natural game either. He had such a mature professional performance. But the thing is, I felt Jones was, he'd done an incredible job. Don't get me wrong, but I felt he wasn't playing to his strengths. I thought he was incredible. I thought he was told he had the reins on because he had to put in that performance because of the midfield we had. He had to do a job for the team. He did it.
Wijnaldum did well as well. Well, you could go
in a defensive
team, basically.
Yeah, in a defensive again, he was in a defensive midfield position. All probably alien to. I mean, I remember you saying that in your. But what a performance! I mean, they should have been 1-1. As soon as we went 1-0 up, I think Barnes missed a side foot volley or something, and he skied it. That should have been 1-1. But like you say, there was no point in that game. Even if they'd have drawn, we'd have gone on and just overpowered them and beaten them. It should have been 7 or 8, and that's no joke.
And you just knew once Liverpool got the leads, you just knew Rodgers doesn't have the tactical nous to do anything about it. He doesn't have an answer.
I think he's got the tactical nous, Tris.
No, he hasn't. He hasn't got a clue. He's never had a clue. That's why he failed at Liverpool, because he didn't know how to change things.
What I feel in game, yes, he has a plan pre-game.
Yeah.
But he can't read the game himself. You watch.
Yes.
It's like when we played. Who was it? Basel, and he couldn't figure out. We played them twice before he figured out how they they were even playing. He couldn't understand what they were doing. This is something that he's admitted himself, and the coaches at Liverpool at the time have come out publicly and said that they couldn't understand. This is how embarrassing it is that under him they couldn't understand how Basel were playing it until they'd seen them play twice against them, even though they'd watched footage of them beforehand. And it was only simple. They were playing a back four when they were defending, and they were switching to a back three when they got possession of the ball. That was it. That was all they were doing, and he couldn't figure it out and how to deal with it. He's got no tactical nous whatsoever.
I think they're a bit one-dimensional, Leicester, aren't they? They're not an expansive team, so to say.
The Vardy and Tennant.
It's everything through Vardy. Everything goes through Vardy.
Bit like West Ham with Antonio. If he's out there, they're going to struggle. Even they might pick up the odd result without him, but they're not the same team.
Now, they've got some good players. Don't get me wrong. They've got some really good players. Madison's a really good player, but he wasn't allowed the time and space that he's usually afforded, and he struggled. James Madison.
Yeah, he's a good player, but he's another one of those that looks to go down rather than play, doesn't he? Far too easily. Yeah. Even when there's nobody within touching distance of him, he'll be on the floor looking for a free kick, and you think, oh, tell he's in a WhatsApp group with Grealish.
James Madison.
Oh, right, yeah. And that's okay, mate. But
the
I felt that
fucking hell. How
I felt I felt Tielemans moans a lot as well, or is it me?
Oh, I don't like him. He's a half-ass player for me. He'll sprint like mad, work his bollocks off going forward, but when it comes to getting back, he's a stroller. And you just think, I know what, if you can run like that fast going forward, you can run that fast coming back to help out as well. Otherwise, what use are you?
Let me just go back to you guys about Rodgers. I'm not sure he's there in 2 years' time. I'm sure. I feel that this is a stepping stone for him. I don't think he's laying any. If he's there in a year, if he's gone in a year or two, it wouldn't surprise me. And that's going to be. And also, maybe, but
they'll
also
fall away again. And how long can you keep making up excuses for having a good start and falling away badly when it matters? Because that's what he does.
But their blueprint to rely on Vardy is so shaky and it's so weak. That foundation is crazy. It's like you can't just build your team around a 34-year-old.
No, you should be looking to check. You should be looking to provide options. Yeah, you're right.
They should have had that this. I mean, at least this summer they need to go out and buy somebody because they're on. It's like in quicksand. I mean, he's 34 now, buddy. I mean, I'm sure he can play for a year or two, but what happens then?
Yeah, when his legs start going this season, which they're bound to at some point. No player's going to be able to play the full season this season, and especially a player at his age.
And he's relies on his pace and he's running in behind. Not sure what they're doing there, but listen. I've got to say this. I'd be remiss and I need to listen. I'm just going to say it, and I'm not ashamed either. I owe Diogo Jota an apology. I was seriously underwhelmed with his signing. I said while editing, I wanted Jonathan David. I think he's at Lille now, and I wasn't impressed with the transfer fee. That's for sure, for 40-odd million. But he's made a mockery of my opinion. The guy is just. So Diego, if you're listening, I'm sorry, mate. I really am because I'm gobsmacked. I'm speechless at how well he's done. And I thought he can do it everywhere. I didn't think. I think you said it in your review, didn't you, Tristan? About him playing all three positions. I didn't think he was capable of it either. I thought he's only good on the left, but
he was brilliant. He was on the right, and he was probably his best performance. Well, no, not probably. It was his best performance for Liverpool. And I think, from what I can remember seeing of him at Wolves, it's his best performance in England, from what I've seen of him.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I honestly thought they were going to start. Honestly, I thought Bobby in the middle and Jota on the left, and they. Well, obviously,
I
wrong.
thought Mane's played. He was right wing when we bought him. You know, he's a right winger mostly.
Yeah.
So I thought this is a perfect time. Just give him a run out on the right, but no. And you can't argue with the results because Jota was sensational again.
And those, I mean,
and the thing I liked about him, I gotta say, is the one thing that worries me about him, and it's still a worry, is his lack of creativity. For all he does, it tends to be for himself, if you see what I mean. He does runs, he plays but everything he does seems to be for him to get on the end and score goals. So if he's not scoring, if he goes through a bad patch where he's not scoring, he's not really going to contribute much to the team. Unlike Salah and Mane, they set each other up a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's got no assist. He doesn't really get many assists. Even for Wolves, he virtually had not. I don't think he had any or something ridiculous like that. He just isn't a creative player. But he actually played a few good incisive passes in this.
I think he's been such a good signing that now Liverpool, from having the best three forwards in the league, they've got the best four interchangeable forwards to play in any three. You can play any three players in any of the four players in any position.
Did you have to say that through gritted teeth?
Do
you need a sick bucket after saying that?
And listen, man, and you know we have to praise be to Pep Linders, because Linders was the one wanted it.
And not just that, we got to say thank Wolves for being willing to take a small down payment.
$5 million deposit.
We could have ended up not buying anybody if they weren't willing to accept like buy now pay later, because we couldn't afford to pay up front for anybody.
It's $5 million, I think, the paying, is it? Is it $5 million a year to pay him for his
I can't remember. I don't take much
notice. I think it was $5 million. Yeah, and they took Hoover as well, so they did. Okay,
he was the down payment. So we didn't pay any cash up front. We just gave them Hoover. That was the whole reason why they went through.
I think it was $5 million and Hoover.
No, not he. We gave them 9.75 million in the shape of Hoover.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was Hoover and money. I was. It'd be remiss not to talk about Bobby, Billy. So go for it, pal.
He missed so many chances, didn't he?
Man,
it wasn't just he missed them. They were saving them last ditch on the line and everything. You're just thinking it's just not going to happen for him, isn't it?
Yeah.
Every time he had a chance, I was thinking of Billy. I was thinking, just stick it up his arse.
when they saved that one, what was it, 0.11 millimetre or something from being a goal, and you're thinking, you may as well just give up. It's just not. Obviously, the world's against you. Just give up, Bobby.
But he didn't, Tristan. He didn't give up. That's the point.
Yeah.
I played well.
I mean, it's just he's only scoring goals now because he reads the site.
That's him going, here, Billy, and then sticking the middle finger up, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, okay, let's.
He's gone. Guys, that's why you know what he was doing there. He was running about like a blue-ass fly every time, getting involved on everything, getting on the end of everything, and each time he was going, and you say I don't do enough. That Billy said I don't do enough. He was saying.
All right, guys. Let's. Okay, one question I wanted to ask you. The team for Atalanta, would you go weak with kids, or would you go hard and experienced and qualify, and then just what happens at Brighton happens. Whoever's fit plays, or would you say
look, they don't have a week. They don't have a week. Anyone who comes in seems to do a job, and I don't think they've got weak in the side. I think they won't play some of the bigger names, but the ones who come in are going to do a job.
I think it depends on who's fit as much as anything at the moment. It's a case of who's fit enough to play. So Salah will probably come in because he's had a rest. Hopefully, he's feeling fresh.
Yeah.
But you don't know, because you don't know how badly he's been affected by having the COVID. So he might not be fit and fresh enough to play. So I mean, it really does come down to which 11 can we get that are fully fit, or the closest to fully fit. No, go on. Oh, you've stopped now, have you?
No. You know what, guys? I'd play Salah for sure against Atalanta, because what defender's going to go Atalanta? What defender's going to go near Salah after he's had tension?
Yeah.
He's going to have a blinder.
Good points.
He'll score 20 in that game. I'd definitely play Origi, Minamino. I play some of the kids. I just think we've got 2 games against Ajax and Midtjylland to go to win the group. Why would we just risk injury? I'd say we stay weak, play some kids, play the second string players, and then keep it strong for Brighton on Saturday morning.
Like I said, it just come down to me who's the fittest. Pick 11 fittest players, put them on the pitch.
Yeah, but then if you've got big players that are fit, then that's 3 games in a week you're playing.
Some players can deal with it easier than others. So
yeah,
you've got there's so many games. There's going to be a point where these players all of them are going to have to take a risk. You saw that Klopp was afraid to make changes because he knew there was likely to be, there's a good chance of having another injury. With Kane going off injured, and he's there, he's got two substitutions left, and he's waiting, and you could see him thinking, I really want to change because I want to get some of these off because this game's won. But I know if I take somebody off, there's a good chance somebody else could get injured, and then I'm stuffed.
So is this a good? Let's talk about
the 3 sub thing.
Let's talk about this 5 sub rule. I can't remember if you touched upon it last week, but it's a good segue because it kind of marries into, because Klopp had a massive post-match rant. Did you guys hear that?
Yeah, but that was about the scheduling the games, wasn't it? Which conveniently just follows on from Pep doing it and Ole doing it and somebody else doing it as well. Seems to be they're all got together in
Blackpool.
Yeah. They've obviously met at Klopp's favourite pub or somebody else. I saw somebody else. It was Matt Critchley saying it's like they've all got a WhatsApp group together.
The Bully Boys, it's called.
Yeah.
The big 6 Bully Boys. Bullying everyone into submission.
But they have got a point that any team in Europe, any of the teams in Europe shouldn't be the early game on a Saturday. That's simple.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
It's not difficult. Just put it get a later time in Saturday. What's the issue?
Because BT have signed a £900 million
but what I'm saying
contract.
Is, that contract was in a normal season. That was what it was signed for. This is a special circumstance. They all should be able to get together, put their heads together, and say, "Okay, this is a different season. Yes, our games were set, this time, but because we still want to show, say, Liverpool." Our deal is we're picking Liverpool, but we understand it's a special time. So, say to Sky or BBC, whoever, can we swap it out? We just swap these over? You show your game at the early kickoff, and then we'll show ours at this time. Why not?
But why would Sky do that for a rival? It won't matter.
They're not doing it for a rival. They're doing it for their own, for the clubs. You know, to show the best product on the TV. Because what they're showing at the moment is half of it is messed up by players going off injured, and you've got every team in the country right now is playing with half a team. That's not good for the TV companies. Because if you've got, if you'll end up with Liverpool playing without, imagine if Salah and Mane are out injured as well. That's their viewing figures halved. Because they're losing a massive international market by all these players going down injured. It is not good for them either. It's not good for their product that they're showing on TV. So they should be working with them.
I'm playing devil's advocate here because obviously my excuse me. I'm
just going to say, I hate 5 subs. I really hate having the extra subs because every time the subs are all together. I understand it because managers can change the game and that, but I hate it because it always seems to ruin the flow of the game, and they come on and the game goes all bitty, even when it's just 3. But 5.
But the irony is, Klopp and Pep haven't used 5 subs in most of the games that they've been.
Yeah, but like I said a minute ago, every time they're getting to the point where they're too scared to make changes in case somebody goes off injured.
I listen. You're going to have to be paying rebates out to television companies if you start changing, making amendments to contracts.
No, that's the whole point. This is a different situation. This is under extremists. There's plenty of this isn't a standard. This isn't what the contract's based on. Their contract they could quite easily renegotiate the terms of the contract for this season. There's not an issue with that. Why they are not doing it, I don't understand.
I think there's mitigating circumstances, but I also think that the legalities aren't as easy as you say they are. It's just
the issue is that the chairman aren't going to bother because they don't care because they're still getting the money. And that's where the issue lies.
That's it. That's where the issue is, that these guys that own the clubs don't care enough for them to modify the contracts. Because
they don't need to modify the contract. That's my point. This is just a one-off season that they should have said we're going to have to work together on this.
Contracts have to be rewritten. You can't just say,
don't have to rewrite a contract because this isn't a normal season. This isn't covered by the contract. It's extreme. It's it's what they call it, isn't it? In extremis or something they call it. This isn't a standard season, so they could have a special, an agreement, a written agreement. You don't need to alter the contract just for this season.
It'd be an amendment to the contract. So
you don't even have to be. It'd be a separate agreement. You don't even have to because this isn't covered by the standard contract because it's a special circumstances. The thing they're worried about is that Sky can just say, well, yeah,
I'm not sure that you're too sure of the legalities, and I'm not too sure of the legalities. So this is a mute conversation because we both don't know what the legality of the situation. So we'll have to agree to disagree on that.
They certainly it's not a standard season. This isn't as, but they've said that themselves. Mate, both the TV companies have said it themselves.
Okay, you're saying that you don't need to redraft contracts to make this special exemption, right?
Yeah, because it's not a standard season. All you need is people to sit down and talk. This is what Klopp was saying. This isn't about redrawing a contract and re-agreeing it. You revert to the normal contract the following season.
That's what I'm saying to you. Klopp is saying that you don't need to redraft contracts. The TV companies are saying yes, you do. That's the legality.
They're not saying that at all. The TV companies haven't come out and said that at all. I don't know where you're getting that from. They're
getting rebates. They want rebates for the.
Yeah, but that's nothing to do with this. That's nothing to do with this at all. That's irrelevant. That's from not showing.
I appreciate what you're saying, but I don't think it's as easy as what you're claiming it to be. I just don't think it is.
As easy. They're just not. They're just refusing. Nobody's actually putting their heads together and discussing it. That's the issue. It's not that it's not as easy. It's that they're refusing to cooperate.
Make it. Yes. One thing I do agree is that the Fat Cat owners are not bothered about it. unless something is actually there's a revolution or something. That I do agree with. The other thing about the legalities of it, I just say, but let's talk about the players that Liverpool and Leicester can't afford to lose.
For me, Liverpool is Robinson.
No, Alisson. Alisson, definitely, 100%.
Do you think so? Yeah.
He looks so much different since he's come back.
Oh, I know it makes a difference, but do you know that Robinson?
I love Robinson.
He's a fantastic player.
So
he never stops from when he gets on the pitch to when he gets off it.
He's brilliant, but Milner and Tsimikas can fill in there.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to go a season with
Adrian.
God, I've forgotten his name now.
Adrian, I can see that.
Yeah. I would say Fabinho's not too far behind Alisson.
And Firmino and Salah and Mane and Jota. But if it's just one, it's got to be Alisson because he's the only one we haven't got anything like the same quality replacement. And we've shown we can manage without Van Dijk. So it's definitely not him, despite what people were saying before he got injured.
We've only conceded 3 goals in 7 games since he's been
without
injured.
him. I mean, how mad is that?
Oh God! Oh my God! Say that again, because I want you to get loads of abuse.
It's true. We've been better without since he's gone out injured. The defence has suddenly tightened up. I mean, it's unreal. You lose the best defender in the world, and suddenly you get better. How does that work? It just shows how great a manager Klopp is because he finds a way to manage, which is what management's about.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful note to finish that.
And Leicester's Vardy.
Yeah, Vardy. It's got to be Vardy.
Yeah. Guys, let's move on to Burnley versus Crystal Palace. Anybody see the game?
Yeah, well, I was
half
watching it. It was kind of like difficult to keep your eyes open because it wasn't exactly the most riveting of games, shall we say. But Burnley deserved the win. But Palace are another side. They're a one-man team without Zaha. And they didn't have Zaha.
He wasn't. So. He didn't. Yeah, he weren't playing, was he? He was quarantining.
COVID, yeah.
Do you want to move on?
So that's the one man they can't afford to live without is him. So
yeah.
I can't think who. With Burnley, it's Ben Mee. Since he's been back, they've suddenly started playing.
You've always said that he was the better one.
I think he's a fabulous player.
Yeah.
Most underrated defender for years. He's been their star man, and I don't understand how they've managed to hold on to him when people like Kane went for big money. It's bizarre.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
What was the match like? Was it just a bore?
1-0.
Terrible.
Bore fest.
Terrible game.
We'll move on to Wolves versus Southampton then.
That was a good game.
Yeah.
1-0.
Do you know what? I'm not sure. I'm not sure Southampton didn't nick a point though. Rather, I think Wolves were the better side in some respects. Yeah. But then I was thinking about it, and as I was saying it, I was thinking, but then Southampton did create a fair few chances.
And they got Theo Walcott.
Yeah, scored, didn't he? I mean, where did that come from?
No.
But imagine they'd had Ings up front that game. They'd have battered. They'd have put a few in. Ings would have scored a hatful there.
Yeah. But they're still playing nice football, aren't they? It was a good game to watch actually. Yeah. Both teams play some nice stuff. It's entertaining and the teams had a go.
But what's happened to Ruben Neves?
Don't know, he seems to have gone off the radar a bit, hasn't he?
Watch it, and he was just like, it's like half of him's vanished.
Yeah, he's going through the motions, yeah, very much so.
Isn't he getting on a bit as well?
No, he's only a youngster. He was like 21 or something when they bought him, and he's like, he's only a youngish. He should be coming into his peak, basically, but he's just, I don't know what's happened to him. He just, since they've come up into the Premier League, he just seems to be playing worse. He's regressing badly.
He used to score those wonder goals, didn't he?
But he's never getting close enough to the goal to actually shoot these days. I think that is part of the problem. Is Nuno's very negative. Very cautious rather than negative, I think is a better way to describe him, isn't it? Cautious.
But isn't that ironic with all the flair players he have attacking? Why does he need to do that?
I don't know. I don't understand it. He doesn't like to take the game to opponents in the first half, though, does he? He likes to sit back and then go at them in the second half. As the second half goes on, crank it up a bit. I don't know. I don't understand it myself.
It does seem that way.
Their first season in the Premiership, they were like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. I think Europe took a lot out of them last year, that run they had in Europe. Where they played a lot of games. And I don't know whether that changed the philosophy because they were getting tired and not performing great in the Premier League.
Good point.
And that could have took a lot out, and that could have reformed how he thinks.
Good point, Mrs. Bill. Well spotted.
He's on the shredded wheat again.
Yeah, I'm telling you, his missus is spotting these things and telling him. I bet she's got a pad and pen that's sat next to him and she's writing down, mention about them in Europe. I'm telling you.
That Southampton away strip is gorgeous. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. What's that? Is it the old kit or something? That stripe? I can't remember whose kit that was.
It's like Peru. It's like a Peru kit.
Peru, isn't it?
Yeah, but Southampton used to have it as well. It was an old Southampton kit as well. It's just a retro thing, isn't it?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. It's brilliant. I love it. I'd love Liverpool to have that.
Oh no. No, see, I can't handle the reason why I don't like our kit. I've figured it out. I've realised what really bothers me about it. It's not just the stupid neck on it, because you see that's on Spurs as well, and it doesn't really say anything. You don't even notice it on Spurs. It's too much white on it. Liverpool should be all red. That's what we changed to under Shankly, and we've become all red. That's us. It's got white down the sides, and it's too white. I don't like it.
I've never noticed.
Nobody's agreeing, like, but that's to me. That's what bothers me about it. There's far too much white on it. It should be all red.
All right.
And it took me a while to figure it out myself. What was bothering me about it? Because it just doesn't look right.
I'd love to have your problems.
My Christ, do you want me to write you a list? You can have them. Are you sorry? You're talking physical problems, or you're talking about?
If all you're worried about is you don't like the Liverpool kit, I need your problems, right? The Wolves player.
At least I can change your tyre. Well, now don't start coming on saying about problems. You're the one phoning up, panicking. Oh, I'm tired. We're going to be late. My tyre's gone.
I have people to do that.
Yeah,
listen,
exactly.
A Wolves player that they can't live without, and a Southampton player they can't live without. It's got to be Ings, isn't it?
I would have said Ings, but they've done so well. They're still doing all right without him. So, maybe Ward-Prowse.
Yeah, good player, Ward-Prowse. Yeah, he could be one.
But I would have said Ings if before he got injured. I would have definitely said Ings. So.
But what would they be doing if he was in the squad still? I mean, if he was in the team still, they'd be a lot better.
Yeah, true. Yeah, could say that.
Yeah, they scored more goals.
He would have scored a handful. Yeah, you're right. He would have scored a handful against Wolves.
And the Wolves?
I like Neto for them. I think he's a quality player.
Yeah, I've always preferred Oldie myself, and I've done that so many times. I know. I'm gonna keep doing it until somebody laughs.
Oh my God, that was.
I'm gonna use Lidl next time just to vary it.
Post-it notes, seen the light.
I know, I've been waiting with that one. Every time we talk about Wolves, I get that one ready.
Oh my God, that was unscripted. or your wife saying, "Say Neto, say Neto."
I primed you beforehand,
Get
mate.
Billy to say Neto. What's that?
You know what? We were waiting for you to come on. You know, while you were having your saves come out to change your tyre and that. Me and Billy spent half hour priming us, you know, with jokes. Do we want to get in and that? You know, well, you say this and I'll not. You know, I'll. Trouble is, we forgot them all once we started. That's the only one he's remembered.
That's old age, mate. That's old age. All right, guys. I think that.
So you're saying, sorry, who are we going with? I forgot. Wolves. Who was it?
Oh, we're going with Aldi, no?
No. I would say Dendoncker, to be honest.
Yeah, he's done well. I like him, Dendoncker. I like Connor Cody, but he missed his first game. He missed his first game, Connor Cody.
Yeah.
So many 100 games, 600 games or something, I can't remember what it was. But he missed his first game, and he's been really good for them, Connor Cody.
Yeah, they do miss him, but I think they've got a decent amount.
They have got backup, yeah. They have.
But Dendoncker, I don't think they've got anybody else who offers what he does in midfield.
Yeah, I do like him, yeah. With Dendoncker.
Oh no, Jimenez. Right, Jimenez, obviously.
Oh,
Jesus, what are we doing? Oh my God!
I mean, how did we miss that?
Oh, apologies. Let's start again. Hang on. I'm going to go back and delete that bit because we're going to sound like a right bunch of imbeciles. I mean, it's
obviously Jimenez.
Where was your missus, Bill?
Stop the tape. Obviously Jimenez.
She's let you down there. Freaking talking about Aldi and Lidl, but you missed him in there.
Yeah.
He would get into any side on the planet, I think. There is not a team that any team that he would Raul Jimenez. I think he's that good.
He's a very good player, yeah.
I think he'd struggle to get in Bayern's side because they've got Lewandowski.
You wouldn't think he'd get into the Bayern side?
Yeah, and Borussia Dortmund. I mean, is he going to push out Haaland? And what about Liverpool? Where's he going to play for Liverpool? Instead of
in Bobby's squad.
Squad.
Yeah, squad. 100%. Yeah, squad. Definitely.
That's what I meant. Yeah. That's what I meant.
Oh, but like first team. But I'm going to say that there's. And with the exception of Spurs as well, because of Kane, you'd be struggling to name another team that he couldn't walk into the first team.
Mm.
I mean, can you imagine Man United if they had him instead of Marshall? How much better would they be?
Think he gets into United all day long. Paris
Saint-Germain, if he was up front, they'd be laughing.
Yeah. I think he gets into the Chelsea team.
Yeah. Because Tammy Abraham going to keep him out? Not a chance. And he's just like a better version of Giroud.
Yeah.
And he'd walk in.
He'd walk into the Arsenal team.
And he'd probably be able to walk round and he'd be playing like
City.
Them. Yeah, definitely.
Get into the City team now. Yeah. Wow. What a player. Yeah. All right, guys. Should we move on?
Don't worry, I'll edit all that bit out. So we didn't mention any of that. Well, the trouble is we've missed out on that freaking Neto gag now.
Mate,
that's the only time I've ever said anything funny in all these times you've been doing it, and I'm going to have to frigging edit it out. It's your fault.
Mate, I'm just going to go for a leak, yeah? So give me a sec.
Well, we just carry on without you.
Oh no, you might hear me. That's why I've got my headphones on.
Do I need to pause it, is what you're saying, while you go for a slash?
Yes, that's what you said.
We really don't want to hear that. Hang on, I'm trying to pause it. The mouse isn't working. I'm trying to keep talking because I don't want to hear him pee while I get that. Jesus.
All right, lads. Let's get down to some talking points for this week. I think the big hot topic this today is fans back in stadia.
Well, it's not really, is it? It's not really going to affect most of the teams in the Premier League, you know.
Yeah, but I'm not being funny. It is just going to have, even having 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 fans.
But they're not
in the stadium.
Because they're Liverpool, Manchester, London. They're all in tier 3, so they're not going to have anyone. Tier 3 or 4, whatever it is.
Liverpool are in tier 3 at the moment, but the rate's gone down in Liverpool, so they're expecting tier 2, which means Liverpool and Everton will be able to have 2,000 fans in. It's 4,000 if you're in tier 1. It's 2,000 if you're in tier 2, and it's none at all if you're in tier 3.
Yeah, because that's the problem is London and Manchester and Liverpool are all tier 3, so it's not going to. It's only going to be teams like Brighton and Southampton that are actually going to have fans in, which is
it'll be 2,000 for Liverpool now by the looks of it at the moment.
But the thing is, if it doesn't, if they can't have, if only certain, is that not giving them an unfair advantage?
It'll only give them an unfair advantage, I think, when you get. What you mean vocally? You mean as
if say Liverpool, Manchester, and London stay in tier 3, say for example, all three of them stay in tier 3, but Brighton and Southampton are are out of the woods and can have 4,000 in. Does that not give them a slight advantage?
I wouldn't think it would have 4,000, no, but 2,000. I don't think it would personally.
But would there be away fans being allowed in? So it won't be.
No, there won't be no away fans.
But
no.
Liverpool's fan base, which 2,000 go to the game?
They'll probably draw lots. What they'll do is they'll probably draw lots for the first lot, and then those lot won't be able to go. Out of the season ticket holders, it'll be. That's what they've been doing when they've done them in like Scotland when they're doing the trial runs. And when they've done a second trial run, those that went to the first one are ruled out, and it's drawn lots out of who's left for the second one. And then what they were going to do is, because they haven't been able to have a third one yet, this is what I've been reading about how they've been doing it, is they'd then have, it'll be out of the ones that haven't been able to go to the first 2 games. And so on until they've all had a chance to go, and then they'll go back to everyone's in the pot again and draw lots. That's the plan. That was the plan.
It's a logistical nightmare, though, isn't it? Wouldn't you think for the
because the thing is, there's 3 games a week, right? 2 or 3 games a week. How do you get people's answers? Like you send them emails, text messages. What do you do? Yeah, like you say, it's a real headache, a logistical nightmare. So I would even just personally, I would do this.
Assume you'd have to enter. You'd have to go in, put yourself. If you're a season ticket holder, because it'll be season ticket holders, they'll have to put their name in, and then they'll draw out of them. So if you don't answer and you don't turn up, that's your problem. You've had your chance. You know what I mean?
Do you know what? This is the one time I say you make it easy on yourself. Give it to local. Because it's just going to be logistically easier. I mean, the point of having fans in the stadia is to have some kind of some kind of vocal noise support, etc. Listen, it doesn't matter.
I was going to say, in Scotland, these teams that have done the trial runs in Scotland, they probably don't have to worry about that because all their fans are going to be local. So you've got a point there. That might make. Because the travel and that surely is part of the problem with the, the spread of it anyway.
The pandemic, yeah. Just give the 2,000 tickets to local fans in Everton, Liverpool, Manchester. Nobody's going to begrudge you living in London or Brighton or Singapore or something. Nobody's going to begrudge that fan of that particular respective football club that they got the opportunity to see their team. No one's going to do that. And who's going to fly over?
How are Liverpool going to get 2,000 fans to Norway by next week?
From Norway, I think you meant. You've got your own gag there.
You're going to send the tickets there with them.
But I got the gist, so that's why I laughed, mate. But it's true. It's just a logistical nightmare. And I can just see the ticket. I can just see the ticketing offices up and down the country saying, what? It's just... just give it to the locals, give it to kids, give it to school kids, give it to their parents, local people, and it'll be great. You know, you just get some kind of support in there.
I think you're on something on the kids or things like that. I think it should be ones that wouldn't normally get to go, rather than harsh on the season ticket holders and all that. Yeah, fully agree that, but this is special circumstances.
And if you're a real supporter and you begrudge a kid going into watching the game as opposed to you, you're not no kind of fan.
I'm not kind of fan, and I'd begrudge them still because I can't.
Yeah, but you're cynical, so that's.
I'd still be jealous, mate. I'd still be jealous. I'm always jealous of those that get.
You should put that forward to Liverpool Football Club, Ahmed. You should put that forward to them. That's a great idea.
They'll never do that because they can't make money out of it.
Listen to the podcast. No, but Klopp and
can you imagine
Henry
John Henry saying to him, "We'll do it as a charity thing." What? What charity is that? You mean my back pocket? No, a charity. A charity? No, I don't understand. You're going to have to explain this. What's a charity?
You fully expect Liverpool to be selling one of those tickets, 500,000 each.
Yeah, exactly. They'll have it ranked up, won't they?
Meet a player or something, at the end of the game for $1 million ticket.
Yep, they'll have them sold at massive amounts.
Absolutely,
give it to the kids, man.
The forgeries will be the one where you make the money. All the forgeries going round.
If somebody's in the know here. I always wondered how you can afford your lavish lifestyle.
Can you imagine that? There's only two. It's like having the ticket to the chocolate factory. Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. You get to meet an Oompa Loompa. That'd be Shaqiri, that'd be Shaq.
I say it to Billy is. What are you talking about? We meet at Oompa Loompa every day when we do the podcast.
Should we move on to the EFL having 5 subs? And should the Premiership then?
Didn't we go into this earlier?
Yeah, we did.
Probably, but
mentioned it
18 hours. I forget what.
You threw it in there when we were doing the when I mentioned Klopp not being able to put on the 3 subs.
Somebody's listening.
See?
Somebody's listening. All right, let's get on to the 2 Tenerife players getting breaching COVID regulations in a brothel.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it? I mean, imagine it. You sneak off to a brothel on the quiet in breach of COVID regulations, obviously. But it's legal in Spain. It's got to be said. They're legal. It's not like if they're breaking the law in that respect. It's just they're breaching COVID regulations there by allowing people to sit too close together and stuff. Which seems a bit odd in a brothel, but there you go. I mean, you know what? You sit over one side of the room, I'll sit over the other. I'm not sure how this works, but anyway, yeah, that's what they were. That's why the police were raiding them, because apparently they were allowing people too close together in this brothel. So the police raided it, and they found 2 Tenerife players there and breached obviously the COVID bubble thing. So the club are furious, understandably, like.
I'm really, really hoping they're married, because that would really put the icing on the cake.
Do you want to know what their names are? Just in case, in case you can find out their wives. Alberto Jimenez, and the other one is not Xavi, but Javi Alonso.
Right. I wish it had been Xavi.
With a J instead of an X, so it is Xavi. It's Javi Alonso.
Yeah, but they're professional footballers. You'd have thought they don't need to go to a brothel.
Well, Wayne Rooney did, didn't he? Him and
no.
what's his face? What's his face? The Neil Mellor. who was boasting about being the top scorer for Liverpool reserves to all the hookers because that was really going to impress them. Bless him. So you remember that's where he banged Granny? It was in a brothel.
I know the Wayne Rooney story. I didn't know the Neil Mellor one.
Yeah, that's they went together. They used to go out whoring together all the time. And this was after he was with. You got to remember he was with what's her name then as well, Rooney. But Mellor was single young lad.
And Tristan's like a gossip magazine you pick up in a suit. Something, isn't it? He's got it all.
I just don't want to tell you how I knew.
I just watch a ball go into a net every Saturday.
Yeah, well, you got to remember I knew half the players at that time, so.
Fair enough, mate.
And they thought it was hilarious.
What?
All the players used to thought that was hilarious that he was boasting about the thing.
Mate, let's move on to the. I'll let you do this one because you know more about it than any of us. The Man United hit by a cyber attack.
Well, I don't actually know that much. They had a cyber attack and they were panicking over their, all the personal details, the credit card details of the, all that. So they literally had to shut everything down. So obviously wasn't the defence, the cyber defence wasn't run by Harry Maguire, that's for sure, because they stopped them getting any details, they claim. But I wouldn't be so sure on that, because this is Man United, and they're probably, probably a bit leaky at the back in the cyber department as well, aren't they? Maybe they could bring Ole in to sort it out.
He could drive the cyber bus.
Yeah, you won't be getting through here with Ole at the wheel.
Yeah. All right, guys. Serious point, a talking point at the moment, I think, is the pre-match Ireland video ahead of the England game. What do you guys make of that one?
I personally not a lot. I don't really. Does it really matter?
I was probably a guy. I mean, yeah, it does matter, really, doesn't it? In this current climate, in this culture,
it depends on what it is. Have you seen it? The only people that seem to be getting up a fuss, kicking up a fuss about it, is the Daily Fail, who, let's face it, are just desperate for any controversy to moan about. Especially if it can be something jingoistic, and they can start waving the Union Jacks about and goose stepping and that with National Front tattoos and stuff.
I don't think it's right though, is it? To bring politics into football. I think it's a very dodgy ground, and I think that's been shown at Rangers and Celtic, who have terrible times.
Yeah, but was it
sectarianism? Yeah.
Was it politics, or was it just? I mean, from what I've heard, according to what people who've seen it, they said it was just basically a history of the past the past, not so much about problems with it was more about presenting the history of the football more than anything.
Well, that's not. I mean, if that's just jingoism more than anything.
Yeah, it was just a way of
that's been partisan, but
I read it was sectarianism and all that was being mentioned, but I don't. I'm second guessing that.
That's what the Mail said it. That's what they were printing, but that doesn't mean it's true. From one of your Everton coaches, an Englishman, was an English coach, is part of the coaching staff there. Was it Alan Kenny or something? Your goalkeeper coach?
Yeah, Kenny. Yeah, I can't think of his first name yet, but I know you mean Kenny.
I can't remember, but Kenny. Anyway, he was there and he watched it and he said, he said I was, because people were blaming him because he went home early because he was sick. He went home from the squad early, after and people were saying he must have been the one that told the papers, saying, I didn't tell the papers, I didn't have a problem with it, I didn't see what was wrong with it, I just wasn't feeling very well, so I went home. And he's English, so, obviously it can't have been that bad. Or he'd have been saying, yeah, it was a freaking right liberty what they put. He didn't have a problem with it, so...
Yeah.
I think it's just a bit of a non-story that the Mail have jumped on as a chance to have a go at these bloody foreigners, as usual, because that's what they love to do, isn't it?
Yeah, possibly.
If it's sectarian, it's out of order. If it's just some, as you say, exactly, yeah.
I mean,
then
you're playing for your
I don't see
nation,
anything wrong with that.
How can it not?
Yeah.
How can you not expect to be patriotic and jingoistic and that?
Yeah, but if that's what it is, I think that's fine. But if they did bring sectarianism into it, and put things that like was said in the Daily Mail thing that I read, I think that's wrong.
I think that's where you went wrong, though, is reading the Daily Mail.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
But
it's better just not to bother, and then you'll be a lot happier, mate.
I would like to go on to the next point about the La Liga salary cap.
Oh yeah,
and the big teams needing to cut wages and expenditure.
Yeah, you know why? Because the last few years they've had a salary cap there, so it's linked to their income. So obviously their income's cut massively for next year. So all of them had to take a drop. Not all of them, because some of the clubs spend way below what they can do. Like Athletic Bilbao, for instance, are way below. They've got something like 60 million spare if they want to use it on wages. But you've got
put that. Paint the picture, but put it into context for us. What does that actually mean for us? I don't know.
Well, their overall salary, as in this is everybody, all the coaching staff, youth teams, B teams, all of this, all put together. They're allowed. They have based on how much the club takes in revenue, etc. They're allowed a percentage of it. It's a set percentage. I can't remember what it is. They're allowed to spend that amount on salaries for the entire, for all the coaching staff, all the physios, the players, everything. And
this is above transfers. This is
nothing to do with transfers. This is just salary. Cap. The salary. It's just a salary cap.
Okay. Yeah.
And Madrid, for instance, they've got to cut 172.5 million euros off theirs. So it's yearly salary. It's a yearly amount. So they've got to spend.
So this season. Right. So this season they got to cut 172.
Yeah, for this season, by the end of this season they've got to have cut it. Barca are the worst off because they've got to cut 273.7 million. In other words, that's Messi's wages. That is.
Wow.
It's got to be round about that, hasn't it, Messi?
Yeah.
So when he goes to Man City at the end of the season, they're all right. They don't need to do anything else. But that explains why that's why they were getting rid of players like Semedo and that. Why they're offloading so many players.
Surplus to requirements.
Well, anyone. It didn't matter. They would have, the only one that's why they should have let Messi go, because this is why, he was a bit taken aback that they stood in his way, like. He was thinking you desperately need to.
Is Messi finished, or is Messi just stroppy, and he's going to be wherever he goes next, the Messi that we all know?
I think he's on his way out. It's the end of his career. He's not lived his life as religiously, obsessively as Cristiano Ronaldo.
Right. Okay.
So he's coming to the end of his career. Whether he can revive a bit in the right team, the right setup around him or not, it is one thing. But it's only going to be a short-term thing because he's at that age now where he's on the downhill slope.
Yeah, he's got 2 or 3 years maximum, I think, hasn't he? I'd say.
He's 34, right? 35?
No, 31, isn't he? 32, maybe 30. I'm gonna have to look it up now. God's sake! I can't believe I don't know that off the top of my head. I'm sure he's. Ronaldo's 36, isn't he? And he's a few years younger than...
Yeah. Tell me when.
Okay, yeah, go on. Sorry.
I know this is an obvious thing to say, but I think that signing Lionel Messi is is such a big risk at this moment in time, because you're not getting a guaranteed Ballon d'Or winner. You're not getting guaranteed 30 goals a season. You're not getting guaranteed assists, goals, etc.
Do you know what you're getting now, Abed? What you're getting is a multi-billion-pound shirt sales and profile for your club, It's not about the football with Messi. It's going to be how he can commercially enhance your club.
Yeah.
Especially a club like City.
Pardon?
Especially a club like City.
Yeah. And it's got to be a global club. That's why I know City's a bit more of a gamble, but if it was someone like Liverpool, I know Liverpool wouldn't want him anyway, but it was that or Man United, they'd get most of the money back in endorsements, I think.
But for someone like City, the boost it'd give their marketing and all that.
Country.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
I for one... Go on, mate. Go on. Sorry?
No, I think that's the only reason that any club will buy him is for what he's going to give you commercially rather than football-wise. He will give you something football-wise.
To be fair, Pep wanted him. That was one of his conditions of wanting the new contract.
Yeah.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, that was what he asked for, was Messi.
It would... listen, I'm not going to lie and say to you, bitter. If he came to City for the Premiership, it really would. I mean, who doesn't want to see Lionel Messi in the Premiership?
I don't like watching him.
I don't think... yeah, but I don't think it's what he's doing now. I don't like
watching him, because he's just a cheat. He's just a whining little baby. He's constantly in the ear of officials.
Yeah, because they're intimidated by him. But can you imagine Roberts ruffling his hair again?
Yeah, true.
I can't wait for that.
And I don't think he'd help City. Don't think he's what they need. Though he would provide those... the
razzmatazz.
No, the incisive passes that David Silva did. He can do that, to be fair.
Yeah, they can do that, yeah.
It'd be... I'd be a massive liar if I said it wouldn't be good to see him in the Premiership, and I hope he comes because I think it'll be good for all concerned. Guys, I think that's it.
Right. Well, I'm going to have my tea and toast before I go to bed.
Are you really going to have tea and toast?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just goes tradition, tea and toast, isn't it?
Yeah. And you dip your toast in your tea?
Yeah, in your supper. Always, at my nan and granddad's, that was always the last thing you did before going to bed.
Absolutely.
I'd cook up, I say cook. It's as close as she got to cooking was sticking things in the toast. It was the only thing she could do well.
One minute. Rewind a little. Rewind. What you're saying to me, it's a tradition on Merseyside to have, before you go to bed, a cup of tea and a slice of toast.
Yeah.
Or 2 slices of toast.
Yeah.
2 slices of toast.
Just before you go to bed.
Yeah,
just before you go to bed, yeah.
That's super interesting. I like that.
It's good for you to eat last thing before bed as well, because you sleep better.
Yeah.
You're obviously never going to be a sports scientist, are you?
No, honestly, it helps your sleep cycle. And it depends. There's different theories on it. There's always going to be different theories, but a lot of them will say that you should eat before bed because you sleep better.
That's protein. But
it doesn't matter what it is, as long as you get some. You shouldn't go to sleep on an empty stomach because you won't sleep properly. Because your body then starts thinking it needs to eat.
But I'm intermittent fasting, and I would psychologically I can't eat and physically I can't eat just before I go to bed, and I don't feel right if I eat before I go to bed psychologically because I'm doing so well on that intermittent fasting. So, but I really like that tea and toast before you go to bed. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Is there any other interesting Scouse food traditions?
I don't know. What's different? It's hard to say, isn't it? Because you don't know any other, do you? Like,
no.
It's like it was only when we moved away from Liverpool that I realised that every chippy wasn't a Chinese. And I used to find it really strange. You go to the chippies down south, and I don't do gravy. What do you mean you don't do gravy and chips?
Yeah.
And now say to you, well, I'll whip you up a batch of Bisto if you want it. I'm like, what? Bisto? What
do you know that?
No,
that
gravy.
Chippy outside Anfield. The chippy outside Anfield. They must do an absolute roaring trade. That's a gold mine, that is. Is there one of them outside? What does it matter? There's 40,000 people waiting to get chips and gravy.
Well, it will do at the moment.
Well, they probably make gazillions. The last 50 years, they probably made gazillions. On that note, chips and gravy and tea and toast. Let's call it a night.
Yeah, thanks, boys. Yeah. I'll see you in the week, eh?
See you next Thursday.
Yeah.
Cheers,
boys.
Thanks
a lot. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye. Bye.
Ta-da. See you too.
Ta-da.
Stop it, I mean.
Ta-da.